All right. Good morning, everybody. Well, look at that. We're already heading into some fun times. Where did Dex go? Well, he must have got up and found something else to go do. Um, good morning, everybody. Today or this week, we've all seen this amazing announcement from Microsoft about Microsoft Fabric, the universal data platform that Microsoft has rolled out that covers data engineering, analytics, and data science. Super stoked about this. At noon, I'm going to be doing a live like reaction and feedback on my thoughts on Microsoft Fabric and kind of going through the features in detail and talking about what I think about this. Really want to hear people's takes, so please join that live stream over there at noon. Excited about that. But this live stream was something that I realized I had opportunity to do kind of midday yesterday. I had blocked the day off. Oh, here comes Stax. Welcome. Oh, he's got a squeaker. So post in chat every time he squeaks. That would be funny. I realized, you know what? I want to work through the Microsoft Learn stuff. I've done a lot of, I was fortunate enough, thank you, Microsoft, to allow me to be part of the private preview. So I've got to see the evolution of these tools and these capabilities. So really excited to see that it's finally out. We can finally talk about this en masse. So today we're going to be going through the Microsoft Learn courses that are out there. We're going to be talking about each of the points that are covered. And then we're actually going to be like launching the capabilities and doing them. So I am going to post into chat the training module that we're going to be going through. Please, let's take some time to go in and get signed up for this. Let me pull that right back up. So this is the training module that we're going to be going through. I've posted the link inside of the chat. You should have that by now. Please head over to Microsoft Learn and sign up for this. It's something that you need to do. Make sure you sign up, and I've kind of signed up under many different profiles. Find one that's your own, like personal one that you can use on a regular basis. Sign up for it and use it so that you kind of keep track of these things. Okay. So the purpose of this documentation or this live stream is the first one to work through all of the modules that are out there. Kind of got a little bit of a head start on it, but we're going to be starting at step one, and we're going to be working through each of these different modules that are there. Probably not all in this one live stream because I think if you look at it, it says it's about 8 hours of work to get through that. Sometimes the timing on these things are a little bit good. Sometimes they're a little bit bad. Because sometimes you like, I don't know if you've taken them before, but they're great courses. And sometimes if you know them, you can blow through them. If you don't know them and you have to really dig into it and do additional research, it could take much longer. And that's because you're like leveling up all your knowledge. And I do recommend that you work through these pieces in more of a methodical way of learning about it versus just like haphazardly clicking through them. The additional documentation we're going to be using to understand more about whatever it is we're talking about is over on the Microsoft Fabric site. So this is the official Microsoft Fabric documentation area. I'm posting that into the chat as well. So please go ahead and head over there. Before we get into any of that, I want to thank you all for coming. So Jessica, Donald, Shannon, everyone who's in the chat, thank you so much for hopping in. Really appreciate for that. We also have some surprise visitors that will be popping in throughout the day. This is kind of last minute, so a lot of people, I don't know if they're going to be able to join or not. We'll see. But we're very lucky to have on the phone with us or on the live stream right now, Shannon Lindsay. Shannon, are you still there? Are you there?
I'm here. Hi, everybody.
Oh, hey, Shannon, welcome. Actually, I'm going to boost your sound. I bet that was a little low. So, Shannon, you want to introduce yourself and tell everybody where you're from, what you do?
Sure, sure. Hey, so first of all, thanks so much, Chris, for inviting me and having me here today. I super appreciate it. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Shannon, and I work on the team at Microsoft that handles data and AI learning materials. So we work with the content that you see here on Microsoft Learn. We also work on the certifications, and we also create content for instructor led training courses. So if anyone has any questions about any of that, you can reach out to me in the chat or on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect. And yeah, I just want to say that the content that you're seeing in both Docs and Learn was a huge effort. There was a giant team of people that all worked to put this together, and it may feel overwhelming because there is so much content. But just take it at your own pace. It's not going anywhere. And as the product matures, we'll continue to update things.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much. And having been part of the private preview and seen those conversations, I know how hard your team has been working for months and months and months to get this stuff right, to try to ferret out all of the like, oh, this isn't clear, or what do I do next? And I have to really thank you for all of the hard work you and your team have done to make this something that is, what people can go through and successfully learn about this project. So thank you so very much.
Yeah, and thank you for highlighting it. I'm excited to watch you walk through it.
So this is so for a preface of my exposure with this is I have walked through some of the like very early stuff that was done in the private preview back when things were more in flight than they were. So some of the stuff I know, some of the stuff I don't know. So we're going to kind of all experience this together. And we do have a question in the queue. I do want to ask, if you have questions, do preface it with the queue so I can see it easier. This question comes from Emmanuel Bassi. Is there going to be a certification anytime soon, or what are the next steps on the certification?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that. So, the cool thing about the way that
Shannon,
certifications work
do this
is that
here.
we take our cues
Oh, the
from the
joys of
market.
live content.
We take
I
our
can't
cues from
hear
the
you
market.
now.
So, if there are folks
What
that,
happened?
if there are employers that want, um,
Oh boy.
can you hear me, Chris?
Oh, I see you lighting up, but I can't hear
Oh,
you. Oh, my headset went off.
okay. If folks in the chat can hear me, I don't know, maybe
Oh,
somebody
that's
drop a
funny.
thumbs up in there.
Okay, I think I'm back. Shannon, are you there?
There we go. Yeah,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I think everyone else could hear you too. Can I get a thumbs up if we could hear Shannon talking in? I think it was literally my headset wigged out on me there. Okay,
Okay, perfect.
awesome.
Perfect. Okay, so back to the question at hand, which is will there be a certification coming? Worldwide Learning in Microsoft takes our cues from the market. So if there are employers, apologies, there's a dogfight going on at my feet. If there are employers that want these skills, then yes, a certification will be created. But it all depends on what's happening with you all. So I would say keep your eyes out. I don't think that anything is going to change anytime soon. But I do think eventually, yes, that's where this will trend.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Uh, Good. Any other questions that we have for Shannon or myself? Please post those into the chat. I don't know, Shannon, how much. I know you don't have a ton of time this morning, so whatever you could join for, great. If we have questions for you, we will shoot them your way. Otherwise, they will be available through Restream, and you'll be able to check that out, and we'll forward them on to you as we go along. All right? Ooh. All right.
Sounds good, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you, Shannon. It looks like Alt-Enter ran into an issue in the instructions in the docs, or Jessica ran into an issue there. We'll try to get that sorted out as we work through these things. Hopefully, Jessica, we can go through it, and you'll be like, hey, this is exactly what or this is what I did. Uh, and I can hopefully figure that out as we go. If you didn't figure out, maybe I'll screw it up too, but we'll see how it goes. So hopefully we can get there. One other question from the chat is from Jay Murphy is, will the DP500 be deprecated or will it be rebranded? Any idea?
Well, I think at this point, anyone's guess is as good as mine. But if I know, if we look at what's happened in the past, I think I can confidently say that DP500 will most likely shift to incorporate some of what's going on in Fabric, because DP500 right now, for those of you that aren't familiar, it's the Azure Enterprise Data Analyst Associate Certification. Woof, can't say that 10 times fast. But for folks that are interested in that, it is really a more advanced Power BI skills. It's folks that are doing things in Synapse, and it also includes Azure Purview. So it's really more your enterprise skills, not necessarily doing a lot of analysis, but doing more of the back end kind of data work and being able to do more advanced modeling and making sure things can scale and things like that. So if you look at the product Fabric itself, it really kind of takes everything and puts it all in one house. So yes, I think long answer long. I think that's a pretty good assumption.
I think so too. I think we're going to see lots of rebranding. I just learned the other day that I'm now a Fabric administrator. I was a Power BI administrator for a long time. Now I'm a Fabric administrator, so that's good. So awesome. Thank you, Shannon. All right. So has everyone launched and gotten ready to this document? I want us to get into this. Are we all up to speed here? Have we all logged in, and are we at this page? I'm gonna post this link again inside the chat. Yes, even puppies are super happy with what's going on. Although it looks like Dax is ready to get to work. He is very attentive to what we got going on here, so he is tuned in. So we are going to go ahead and get started. We're going to be launching the introduction to end-to-end analytics using Microsoft Fabric. Looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items here. So introduction, explore what the end-to-end is, what data teams in Microsoft Fabric, enable end-use Fabric, knowledge check, and then the summary. So we are going to be doing the knowledge check together. So I want you guys to be ready. We're going to be answering these questions inside of the chat, and I want everyone to kind of tune in and answer these up. So, all right, let's kick this off. Let's go ahead and get started with our introduction. All right. Excuse me. Microsoft Fabric is an end-to-end analytics platform that provides a single integrated environment for data professionals and business to collaborate on data projects. Fabric provides a set of integrated services that enable you to ingest, store, process, and analyze data in a single environment. Microsoft Fabric provides tools for both citizen and professional data professionals and integrates with tools the business needs to make decisions. Fabric includes the following services: data engineering, data integration, data warehousing, real-time analytics, data science, and business intelligence. This module introduces the Fabric platform, discussing who Fabric is for, and explores the Fabric services. This, to me, is hey, Fabric is, for the most part, if not today, in the future, is going to be all things to all for people when it comes to the data and analytical world, right? We're going to cover data engineering, data analytics, and data science, all right? And everything we need to do in order to perform those tasks. All right, next, explore end-to-end analytics with Microsoft Fabric. Scalable analytics can be complex, fragmented, and expensive. With Microsoft Fabric, you don't have to spend all your time combining various services from different vendors. Instead, you can use a single product that's easy to understand, set up, create, and manage. Fabric offers a shared user experience and contains a persona-optimized experience and tools. In addition to a simple shared user experience, Fabric is unified software as a service, or SaaS, offering with all your data stored in a single open format in OneLake. OneLake is accessible by all of the analytics engines in the platform. Fabric offers scalable, cost-effectiveness, accessibility from anywhere with internet connection and continuous updates and maintenance provided by Microsoft. I gotta tell you guys, I think this OneLake is gonna be might be the most foundational piece that we're seeing within Fabric today. So we're talking about one place to store all of our data. It's going to be stored in the open source Delta Lake format, allowing us to query it using T-SQL, to run analysis services or DAX on top of it, as well as to be able to do Python and machine learning on top of one storage layer that adds in speed, adds in capabilities there. I I think this is going to be super powerful. In fact, if there's anything that could potentially outlast all of this stuff that we're talking about, is potentially the OneLake, right? Like, I could see a day where SQL goes away, right? Like we evolve to something else. Same thing with analysis services. That could shift and evolve. And Python, I mean, hey, Python's great, but one day we'll have something new and we'll be using that. OneLake is a foundational place for us to access and consume data. I think that is the type of thing that could last far longer. All right, so exploring OneLake. OneLake is Fabric's lake-centric architecture that provides a single integrated environment for data professionals and the business to collaborate on data projects. Fabric's OneLake architecture facilitates collaboration between data team members and saves time by eliminating the need to move and copy data between different systems and teams. One copy is a key component of OneLake that enables data to be copied between different regions and clouds without moving or duplicating data. This one copy thing, I really want to get more into that. I'm super excited about this because I don't like how much data is replicated across organizations. If you go in and look at, like, if you really look at a macro level where data is coming from and where people are using data, it's really kind of shocking. The cool thing is Power BI gives us the ability to do that. If you're an admin or you know an admin in the Power BI service, have them run those admin APIs to understand what all the sources are out there for what's going into Power BI. It's going to blow you away. In fact, I think Purview does that too. Like, go in and see how much what your users are consuming are actually directly coming from enterprise sources. You're going to be shocked, right? Like, you're going to think it's 80, 90%. I know for a fact lots of companies are going to find out when they see this, it's going to be less than 10% of what the company uses are going to come from directly from enterprise sources. That means all sorts of things. If you trace it back, okay, that Excel file that came from that Access database that came from the CSV, right? If you trace it back, you'll get to an enterprise source. But it means right now we're blind to all the transformations that are out there. One copy is going to allow us to see that. Hang on. Shannon, you had there's a question in the chat. Let's go ahead and take a pause here. What was the question? I missed it.
Sorry, Chris, I interrupted you.
All good, all good.
Emmanuel had a question in chat about when the training slides will be ready for Microsoft certified trainers. And I know there are multiple MCTs on the call.
Okay.
So I thought I'd go ahead and answer this one. Those training slides are not created until a certification has been identified and we've tested in the market that there's a need for it. And then we go through a process where we identify all of the skills that are involved. So again, a long answer, there will not be any kind of formal training for MCTs for quite some time now. We need to wait until folks are using it in the market. We understand what employers need. And then, once a new kind of certification has been identified, either for this to fit into or for this to change an existing cert, then we will develop the instructor-led training. And quite honestly, I would anticipate that won't be until at least GA. So end of this calendar year would be my guess.
Yes, and that's a good point. I've heard this mentioned many times. When is Microsoft targeting GA? We're not talking like 2 years from now, right? We're talking 6 to 8 months or less than that, right? So I think a lot of the stuff that we have inside of Fabric is already at a high degree of availability and readiness for launch. So I think it's just going to be a matter of like figuring out some stuff here and there. And along with that is going to be, as Shannon said, like all the training materials and documentation stuff, right? Um, uh, we also have a question. So if you use Explorer to copy a file to OneLake, does it remain the same file format or converted or stored as two objects? If I copy Excel file, does it now become a data parquet object? Uh, I think we have to continue on in the training to find that out. So let's keep going. I think that is something we're going to get into because I believe it's copying will still copy. You'll still duplicate. Instead, what you do is you create a link. But let's. I don't want to spoil the next parts of it. So, all right. So back to OneDrive. Think of it like OneDrive for data. OneLake combines storage locations across different regions and clouds. Different regions and clouds into a single logical lake without moving or duplicating data. Similar to how Office applications are pre-wired to use your organizational OneDrive, all of the compute workloads in Fabric are pre-configured to work with OneLake. Fabric's data warehousing, data engineering, Lakehouse and notebooks, data integration, pipelines and data flows, real-time analytics, and Power BI all use OneLake as their native store without needing any extra configuration. Oh, gosh dang, that is so smart. And frankly, the other thing I really like about this is anyone in chat, if you could look up how long OneDrive has been around. I mean, it's been around for a long time, and it's been hit by all of the consumers on the planet, right? Like the moms, the grandmas, the people who don't know how, and grandpas. I shouldn't just pick on mothers and grandmothers, but grandpas too, right? Like the people who don't know what the heck they're doing with technology, right? They've figured out how to support OneDrive for them. I think OneLake is going to be able to inherit from that and get us a long way in there. So super excited about that. All right. Right. Your mother uses it, and she does it well, right? Like, I get links to pictures from OneDrive from my mom, and I love that for number one, because that means my mom is keeping up to some degree on tech, but also that those pictures that are family like heirlooms and whatnot that like I know exist in books someplace, but I don't remember. Like you hear the stories, and they don't. I don't have good memory. But like when she sends me them, she sends messages on this is so and so, and now I get lots of metadata, and that story goes along with it. It's that type of thing that we're going to get with OneLake too, and maybe not like out of the gates, but like I am sure if we look 10 years back, we're going to see like, oh, it's great. I know all sorts of stuff about these files. This data comes along with it. We've got these cleansing things. It's great. So let's keep going because otherwise it's going to be like 4,000 hours on this thing. Uh, oh my gosh. Answer. SkyDrive that goes back 12 to 15 years. Holy cow. OneLake is predated by SkyDrive. Wow. Okay. So forever. Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Or Jay Murphy. Apologies. OneLake is built on top of Azure Data Lake Storage, ADLS, and supports data in any file format, including Delta Parquet, CVS, JSON, and more. What this means is all the compute engines in Fabric automatically store their data in OneLake in an open source Delta Lake format. Data is stored in OneLake is then directly accessible by all of the compute engines without needing to be moved or copied. Ooh, that's so wonderful. One important feature of OneLake is the ability to create shortcuts which are embedded references within OneLake that point to other files or storage locations. Shortcuts allow you to quickly source your existing cloud data without having to copy it and enable Fabric experiences to drive data from the same source and always be in sync. Ooh, gosh dang. So that means, oh yeah, we've got all of our data coming from wherever, warehouses, lakehouses, KQL, semantic models, driving into any of these spaces and be able to be used by SQL, Spark, KQL, and analysis services. Oh, that's fantastic. Although it's interesting, I wonder why these lines just point to the data warehouse. I know that's not right because they all have we'll keep going. Maybe they'll explain it, and maybe I'm missing something.
Well, no, there's been some active discussion about that diagram. This is likely to be updated in the near future.
Oh, okay, all right, awesome. Uh, yeah, so great. I thought it was, but maybe I was going to figure something. So that's cool. Thank you, Shen. Explore Fabric experiences. Fabric offers a set of analytics experiences that are designed to accomplish specific tasks and work together seamlessly. Fabric's experiences include Synapse data engineering with Spark platform for data transformations at scale. Synapse Data Warehouse, data warehousing with industry-leading SQL performance and scale to support data use. More on this later. I'm super excited about this. I know if MIM is on there, it's going to be incredible. Holy cow. Synapse Data Science, data science with Azure Machine Learning and Spark for model training and execution. Tracking in a scalable environment. Synapse real-time analytics. We're going to see real-time analytics to query and analyze large volumes of data in real time. Data Factory, data integration combining Power Query with scale of Azure Data Factory to move and transform data. Power BI, business intelligence is translating data to decisions. Fabric provides a comprehensive data analytics solution to unifying all these experiences on a single platform. Wow.
Chris, you moved too quick over the Power Query thing, man. Power Query everything.
I was just about to say, and we have another person who has just popped in. So, Alex Powers. Alex, thank you for hopping in. Alex, you want to do a little introduction to yourself and let everybody know who you are, what you do, and
what I do is I just chug as much caffeine as possible and try and read as many Fabric articles as possible. But Fabric Cat now the new name for Power BI Cat team, and then closely aligned with kind of the data integration experiences. So love all the feedback from Twitters, from LinkedIn, from community forums. Like, let us know where we should be prioritizing as we kind of move Fabric forward, and obviously towards the general availability release. But absolutely, thank you for doing events like this, Chris. It's just tremendous to be a part of. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for hopping in. Excited to have you and your feedback. So you've been the CAT team. You've been privy to all the stuff that's going on with Fabric for a while now, and I know we had a conversation about a year ago where you said, "Holy cow, I can't wait for you to see what they're doing."
Yep.
Can we now talk about what the "Holy cow, I can't wait for you to see what we're doing" was?
Just, I mean, for me, it's finally the vision where we can have like an end-to-end data integration experience. And then also like being able to grow up with your talents and skill sets. So I'll be doing user group sessions, and hopefully you'll invite me on the streams too. But Data Flows Gen 2 more specifically kind of built on top of serverless SQL. So the Synapse dedicated SQL pools and all the other fun stuff. We can now do transformations at scale, which is incredible to think about. And of course, we're in public preview. There'll be a lot of rough edges as we go, but oh my goodness, the world is our oyster and we are its pearl. Like, now is the time, Chris. Like, whatever we want to do. I'm so excited here with Fabric.
I really am too. I think, especially now, and you're Mr. Power Query everything. We're seeing Power Query now get elevated from just like that business and like maybe departmental like pipeline. Now we're talking about this truly moving up into that like enterprise grade pipeline space.
Yeah.
Like that is really transformative to me.
And that's what I like about Fabric too, is that you don't have to use Power Query. If you're not a fan of it, not accustomed to it, if you want to do other methods like writing SQL, writing notebooks to kind of do all your data engineering and preparation, Absolutely, like bring all of your talents and skill sets into Fabric. But for all the people like me who enjoy kind of the Power Query interface, the underlying M engine, kind of that abstraction layer, so I don't have to go out and learn 10 different languages. I just have to learn one. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm just so excited.
Well,
Hey, Chris.
hey,
This is
Jessica.
Jessica. I know I finally figured out that there was a whole Teams thing going on. So I just have to jump in here and say I can't even with this. I'm sorry. It's so, and I'm not a jump on the bandwagon girly. I am not. But this is amazing. But I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, and maybe this is directly to what Alex was just speaking on. So is like, for example, what I feel like is this is the grow up story for a lot of the tools that, people have been introduced to and they've started using and getting used to the concepts. But I want to kind of validate that what I think is true. So for me, Azure Data Factory is the grow up story for Power Query Editor. It's not that we're replacing it. It's just that when we're ready to move, when we have something in Power Query Editor cannot handle, we can seamlessly move to Azure Data Factory. Is that a valid perception or am I off base?
So I think what we're really seeing is, and you know what? Let's hop over to it, right? And we're deviating a bit here, but that's okay. Like we should have this in context conversations. If I go in and let's make sure people understand what it means to be to have Fabric enabled. So inside of your tenants, if you're an admin, you'll see this. If you're not, you have to ask your admin to turn this stuff on. But you can go in and enable Microsoft Fabric so you can use it. At a minimum, admins, if you're reluctant to turn it on entirely, I understand. But turn it on and enable it for some people in your organization, especially your champions, your center of excellence people, so they can start to play and understand how this stuff works, so that people like Jessica can answer these questions. Okay, but when it's on, you do need to have a capacity. And I apologize, I haven't walked through this exactly because I made sure I had in fact, I made sure I had a premium capacity available to do my work. But you can go in and create a trial capacity. Oh, look at this, already turned on. Holy cow! It's a 64 units. So this is a trial capacity. You can get in and get started with this, so you can get up and running. You can define, and then you can even go in and purchase a capacity. Okay. Once those are up, same thing as in Power BI, right? If I go into my workspaces and I look at my data flow workspace, I've got a PPU license up here. PPU means I can do Power BI, PPU stuff, right? That's not changing. It does not extend to Fabric. So I'm not going to have all of my features and capabilities together here. Inside of my Fabric place, and I created my Happy Days Fabric experience. I've got my workspace settings. I've made sure that under premium, I've got this set up. Come on now. Always on a live stream. Oh, and Chewy, nice to see you. Jessica.
Are we invited to sing with you? Is that?
Good morning. Thanks.
Good morning, Chewy. A quick. Why don't we do some introductions? I apologize, I skipped over that. Jessica, you want to introduce yourself to this stream?
I would love to. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Jessica Jolly. You may see me in the YouTube chat as Altenter. That's just because I have my YouTube account set to my business name. But I think the most important thing about me right this very minute is that I am a quilter. And if I turned on my camera right now, right where I'm sitting, and you looked around, you would see 4 sewing machines, piles of fabric everywhere. And and even in the interface, it says, buy fabric. I can't even tell you how excited this makes me. My husband is just shaking his head. But anyway, and I run a little group called SML, which is why some of us know each other by first names here. So yeah, just super. I mean, I'm on this. I'm like white on rice on this one. So thank you so much for doing this, Chris. Super excited.
Well, thank you for hopping in and asking your question, Jessica. Love to connect and bring some livelihood to these conversations. That's great. We also have Chewy, who looks like he's in the middle of a very fun project behind him. Chewy, do you want to introduce
I
yourself?
know. I don't know anybody from this room.
Well, introduce
uh,
yourself to the live stream and stuff.
oh, oh man, we're in live stream.
Yeah, yeah, you're
Okay.
live on YouTube, so like people
Okay.
are watching you and talking and wondering
Oh
what.
boy. Okay. Chuy Varela. I've been working with Power BI for I don't know, 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently working with the advertising organization in Microsoft as a program manager, and it's just fun to see all this excitement around Fabric. I'm just trying to catch up.
That's
Morning,
awesome.
everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, okay. All right. Let's head back over so we know who's asking these questions on the channel. So do please, if you have things, post them in the chat. We're happy to engage and talk there as well. And is Dax back? Oh, he is, and he hears his name every time I say it. He looks up, so that's exciting. Okay, so back to the screen. We're talking here. We have to make sure we're in a premium capacity or a fabric capacity. Any one of these works. It's a 60-day trial. Holy cow, that's awesome. Once you've got that set up, now inside this experience, you can really start to do stuff. Now, in here, I am in my Power BI persona. I can start to engage and create stuff in Power BI. I can also go in and just go to start creating content. Now, because I was in my Power BI persona, it's going to give me Power BI stuff, presuming that's what I want. I can also go to the see all option, and here is where we get into like the data factory and the answering of Jessica's question of where does Power Query fit in the enterprise. And I think this is where we start to see when we talk about data factory and like the pipelines that we build out, we can build out the classical pipeline that is out there that, if you know ADF, you're doing that. But now we can also build out a data flow Gen 2, right? So we can go ahead and we can create this. And this is our data flow experience when we're creating from Power Query that we know and love, right? So even to the point where I believe we could go from a blank query and we could just copy and paste in a data flow that we had someplace else. We could paste this in and get up and running, right? What this allows us to do then is, and we're going to exit out of here. What this allows us to do then is take those data flows that we have inside of a smaller capacity or that we're using in a small place, and then we can move that up into those larger capacities, those enterprise run managed workspaces, and that could be a parallel item that exists along with all of our other enterprise data pipelines that are in classically built in Data Factory. Jessica, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I actually have another question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And if I'm too chatty, please, of course, just put the muzzle on for me.
Mhm.
But so you said something that I thought was really interesting. You said, I'm in my Power BI persona. So, because one of the things I've already set up my account, and one of the things I noticed is it does appear that Fabric is a separate, I don't know, not layer. I don't even know what it's a separate UI because you have to go to app.fabric.microsoft. But talk to me about these personas. I get that caught my ear.
Yep. Fantastic question. Yeah. Okay. Hang on. We're doing some we're doing some movement of stuff here to make it more accessible for people. I'm gonna kind of stick myself in the upper corner here. DAX will kind of shrink a little bit. Everybody knows who DAX is, and we don't necessarily need to have the DAX cam on or the label. Everybody knows DAX at this point. Right. Sorry. Cleaning up. You said something interesting there, Jessica, that I think we should kind of touch on is the personas, right? Whoopsies. Hold on. Hold. Editing.
Hold, please.
Yeah.
Hold, please.
And Chris, while we're holding, I can speak to those personas just
That
a
would be
tiny
great.
bit.
Yes. Yeah.
Alrighty. So the really, really cool thing about working at Microsoft and working on this product is that a tremendous amount of research goes into everything before any decisions are made. And the persona research was super, super interesting. And really, essentially, what the research team found when they were, how many times can I say research in one sentence? What they found when they were looking into this was that really we anticipate a number of different personas to be using this product. And of course, the obvious ones jump out, data analyst, data engineer, data scientist. But there are others who will probably end up using this too, if and when it becomes, a one-stop shop for analytics.
Well, I don't think it's
just
if and when, or it's not if, it's when this becomes, right? I just can't
I like
see
that
this.
outlook.
Yeah. I mean, Mim was having a conversation about Snowflake and Databricks domination of the market space, and I said I used to think that they really dominated until I saw what percentage of organizations use either of the products, and I was blown away at how small it was. And then I think back to how much Tableau used to dominate this space, and by following this exact same strategy, I mean, Microsoft within a handful of years took a player that had been the gold standard in business intelligence, and I mean, Tableau's still good, but they've been left in the dust. I think we're going to see the same thing for all of these other data platforms. Not on day one, but in year X, this is going to leave them in the dust, and it's predictable as the other shoe dropping. It's going to happen. So, but to answer your question, yes, we have different personas, and different personas inside of the experience have different tools and capabilities, right? So if I go into my data engineering space, as a data engineer, I think about creating Lakehouses and notebooks, Spark jobs, pipelines, importing in notebooks or using a sandbox. If I think of my data factory experience, that's when, hey, if I'm doing data factory work, I'm creating pipelines, right? I'm putting on my pipeline hat, and I should get a pipeline hat. And this allows us to go in and create our classical data pipelines, but also take those Power Query everything pipelines and put those in there, right? But again, I can swap into any of these personas, and here are the tools that I need in order to build out the content, that for that persona, right? And it makes it very easy to have access to this stuff, right? And if I'm doing a classic data warehouse, I'm just using pipelines, and I've got my warehouse that I build. All of these things can be created in the same workspace. It's just, what hat are you wearing at any given point in time? Have the tools necessary for you, and have them be common tools that you can use when you're wearing multiple hats, right? Does that make sense, Jessica?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. Yep, absolutely. And I think for me, this is possibly one of the most exciting things, because I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. When I go into the Azure interface, I open it up, I look at it, and then I usually end up saying, yeah, not today. Today is not that day, because it's so complex. But now putting all of this here in an interface I already know is just going to make it's going to make these things possible for me, for anybody who, because there's a pathway that's not intimidating, in my opinion. I find
It's fun.
Azure extraordinarily intimidating. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, I mean, I just pulled up my Azure portal. You could see it's Azure, right? Like Azure's got thousands of offerings to meet any need that an enterprise may have when it comes to working in the cloud. And as you said, super intimidating. Lots of things that are out there that are like hard to like understand what you need or don't need. Fabric brings this all together so that instead of like, hey, I want to stand up a data warehouse, like, oh, okay, well, first you create a service principal, then you go in and you get a storage account, and then you make sure that it's part of the resource group, and then you configure it to blah, 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 right?
Oh no, honey, Chris, you lost me. I start there and I go, not today.
Right.
Today is not the day, and I am not the one.
Right.
So,
Right. Can you
And you know, I think I'm going to jump in here. I'd argue that some folks might say, looking at the Power BI admin portal or now the Fabric admin portal, there may be the same level of overwhelm. But I just want to do a little plug for the fact that yesterday the product team mentioned that they're going to be putting a search in the admin portal. So that they're really trying to lower the barriers and help us all be able to use this thing, which I think is just cool.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And if you go in, the grouping here now helps out quite a bit, right? You can see there's clear groups. Like if you think back in the day, it used to just be one long list that and they were not well ordered. It was just like some random, whatever the feature came in as. It's better now. It continues to get better every time, we get integrate. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Get integrations. Sorry. Excited about that one.
I'm laughing at you. I'm laughing. I'm laughing with you.
So, yes, I think there's going to be a ton of new features out there. It doesn't help necessarily that we have like old features that are still inside of here. Like if we go over the usage metrics space, unless they've updated this. But like this thing has been garbage for a number of years, and I'm hoping that gets either just remove it or update it, right? Yeah, like this thing is a meaningless thing.
I think, and I'm being hopeful when I say this, but I do think the teams are working on this so fast and furious. Things are going to be changing like right before our very eyes.
Awesome. Yeah, and it is impressive because people I say this all the time because I'm impressed by it. Microsoft has their CI/CD pipeline down so tight and so well. They do 3 updates a week to the service across these platforms to get in new features, fix things, address issues. That is unbelievable. That is fantastic. So, good job. All right. So I think we had a little diversion there, but we're gonna rein this one back in, and we're gonna keep going through this so we can get through at least the first module here. First module in 4 hours, that would be less than great, but it's a good conversation. I really like that we're going deep into this stuff because I think it's understanding the why we're doing this adds in a ton of value as to like the entire learning thing, right? Like just reading in a book means one thing, but understanding why it's important, why it's valuable, is where the true value comes in, right? So, and this actually brings us to a good topic here: explore the security and governance. And if you've worked in any enterprise, understanding how you manage your security, who has access to what, making sure people don't break security access rules. Is really hard, especially in the old world school where you'd copy and send things to people. Well, if I have privileged rights access and Jessica sends me a file and it has the stuff that I have access to in like the old world, I could then send it on to Chewy, who Jessica doesn't want him to have access, but somehow I think I know better than Jessica, and Jessica's the owner of the data. I could give it to him, and then Chewy has that data. Well, that's not right. You know, that's currently that's an issue, that's a gap. This is going to bring us all the ability to much more clearly see who has access to what. That will ensure that we have the right levels of access to stuff. I think it's going to change. It's going to change our conversations so that we do understand how much people do need this information. So I think what this will help, because we'll have line of sight into this, in ensuring that Jessica becomes comfortable saying, you know what, I understand the business case as to why Chewy needs access to this stuff. Okay, let him have access to it, right? And that's where Fabric's OneLake is centrally governed and open for collaboration. Data is secured and governed in one place while remaining discoverable and accessible to users who should have access across your organization. Fabric administration is centralized in the admin center. Oh, interesting. In the admin center, you can manage groups and permissions, configure data sources and gateways, monitor usage and performance. You can also access Fabric admin APIs and SDKs. The admin center, which you'd use to automate common tasks, integrate Fabric with other systems. Note, for more information about Fabric administration, see what is Microsoft Fabric admin. We're not going to go through all of this right now. I'm going to post this into the chat for like a reference for people. Matthias is carving his data in stone. Awesome.
Just kind of like a comment there more than anything else. I'm not expecting you to know the answer to this or anything, but I'll be fascinated to see what the pricing model becomes, because Purview is killer expensive.
Yeah.
So given that this is, gonna use Purview features, I'm gonna be interested in that, just because I tried Purview because I was trying to gear it up to study for the PL 500 exam. Oh, people.
Well,
it was one day and I incurred $100 in one day. So
yeah. Well, so I think one of the big strategies Microsoft has always followed, and I do not know this answer to this, is Microsoft looks at total cost of ownership and the ROI companies get from it. Now, while individual components may be more expensive, it's the overall cost that really matters to companies. And I believe, especially with things like Direct Lake that we're going to be talking about at some point in time in this, and a lot of the integrated runtimes and the not having to copy and replicate data all over the place, I believe that we're going to see a significant drop in our overall compute spend, where we potentially make it so that this is such a running and working inside Fabric is such a fraction of the cost of working on our classic Databricks or our Snowflake environments that is going to be a must-have for where people are working inside of working inside with their data, right? So big shout outs to hey Adam, yo, welcome, joining. Yeah, something happened this week. We're trying to get everyone up to speed on that stuff, so thank you for popping in. The possible, how do you avoid the pain points with Purview? I especially when it comes to spending, I think that's where you have to be mindful in what you're scrolling through and how you're doing that. Jessica, I will admit I have not spun up Purview because I have not necessarily had a need to yet. So, how have you managed to spend on it? Did you just shut it off? Yeah,
I turned it off.
Oh, okay.
but I'm not your typical use case, right? I mean, I'm a little small independent trainer, and so for me, I don't have all those. I mean, I need to spin it up so I can use it, so I can teach it. So I have a different set of metrics that I worry about. But but your overall point, I think, is still very valid. But Purview is extremely expensive. So
Yep. But I think there's lots more around security and governance that comes with Purview that a lot of people are not aware of, and why that cost may even be exceedingly low because of it being able to, it integrates with your perimeter security as well, ensuring that confidential and secure information doesn't leave that. That's exorbitantly expensive if you're trying to manage that. So just as an FYI. Okay, so good questions. I don't necessarily know the answers to that stuff. So we'll keep on trucking. All right. So unit 3 of 6. So we're blazing here. Data teams in Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft Fabric's unified management and governance make it easier for data professionals to work together on data projects. Fabric removes data silos and the need for access to multiple systems, enhancing collaboration between data professionals. Traditionally, the data engineer and data analyst role separation meant that there was an extra conversation that needed to happen to ensure that the engineer curated a perfect data model to help the analyst display data in an effective and insightful way for the business. With Fabric, data professionals work together in the same SaaS product to better understand and identify the needs of each other and the business. Further, data analysts now have greater context and ability to transform data further upstream with Data Factory. This right here is a huge win for so many enterprise customers. Having your engineers and your data analysts work together so that those models are like tightly integrated, so that you have that star schema and you don't like, whoops, I duplicated my customers or even a record. That allows your data engineers to really understand the other side, which is the consumption side of why they're providing data. I think a lot of data engineers are very classically cut off from the consumption side, and they don't realize that, like, when these issues happen, like, oh, well, yeah, so I duplicated 5 records of customers. What's the big deal? Well, no, that's a big deal. To our analytics, to our downstream processes. Why are we having duplications? Like, we have to be out there cleansing that. This puts them in the same environment with the same tool set to allow for them to work more closely with their end customers, so they could see that impact. It's actually quite exciting for me. Let's see here. I don't think we have any more questions. Lively chat. Keep that up. Thank you, guys. When you're a data engineer looking to simplify your data model curation or expanding your knowledge with data science techniques, Fabric provides a complete experience to serve your organization. For data analysts who may have had to perform extensive downstream data transformations before creating Power BI reports, you can now see the lineage and connect with data more directly with direct link mode. Oof. Data scientists now have an easier way to integrate native data science techniques and then use Power BI's interactive reporting to provide data-informed insights in a new way. And honestly, this right here, data scientists working directly with data that data analysts use and data engineers create in a platform that our business is in, is a meeting I had with asking for this from Microsoft. I looked it up yesterday. It was September 18th, 2019. I said, my data scientists are doing amazing work, and they're using Python and notebooks, and the work they're doing is trapped in a space that no one goes to and no one has access to. And I think someone did like a survey and found like 99.996% of data science insights are lost because of that. That's like all of the value of data science is truly being lost, and we still get that value. That little sliver of a percent that make it out of there, make it into the other stuff, adds huge value. What is it going to do when all of a sudden we get away from losing such a high percent and be able to directly influence our business with data science stuff? I mean, you want to ask what's Purview going to cost? No one's going to give a crap what Purview costs, because we're going to be raking in billions of dollars from the work that our data scientists are able to do and deliver, right? It's fantastic. And Lindsay, like, let's get are you still on? Yeah. Let's get more than just a line here, because this value statement is this is $1 trillion line right here, and people are missing that.
We
all right.
can add more for sure.
Yeah. Like right here, like it should be almost, I think, slide 1. But yeah, more on this, because trillions is lost in business values, lost because of where data scientists currently work.
Quick note about that, Chris. So
Yeah.
these modules are obviously just an introduction, but we will be building out additional learning paths for each persona. So everybody just stay tuned to see a lot more content is going to be built out. But noted that data scientists need more love here in the intro.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if people realize, because even you talk to data scientists, they don't even necessarily recognize that their stuff is being lost, right? They think and they are adding value. Just it's lost where they're doing it. This is going to expose it. It's going to be transformational. I cannot wait. Awesome. Yeah, and my Wednesday lunch and learns, I've got those like booked out. I should gotta do a plug. I'm really bad at plugging stuff. I have got so many coming up, and I was so happy to be able to put them. So we've got Mark, and we're talking Data Factory. That's June 14th. This is an off-cycle one. Josh Kaplan, who was in the chat earlier, he's going to be, he and Elizabeth Oldag are going to be on June 6th or June 5th. We've got, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm not sure I've ever heard it. Tavia? I don't know. I apologize, Tavia. But we're on June 7th. We're talking real-time analytics. I got Matthias coming up, and I've got, before all of that, on the 31st, I've got Nellie. She's talking data science. Data science is a huge winner inside of Fabric. So please make sure you tune in for those as well. All right. Let's keep going. All right. And then lastly, I think we hit, let's hit this one. Because Fabric is a SaaS platform, it allows you to quickly and easily provision and run any type of workload or job without needing pre-approval or planning. Oh my God, no pre-approval or planning. This means you can scale resources up and down as needed and be more agile and responsive to changing business needs. That just tingles on this stuff. So excited about it. Lastly, Fabric is bringing the low-code, no-code concept, functionality, approach that has successfully empowered many users on the Power Platform to its own SaaS offering. While it maintains scale integrity for data science, data warehousing, data ingestion and prep, and analytics, it also offers many ways to visually represent code that previously blocked many from going further. Dear God, this is so true. Yes. All right. So enable and use Microsoft Fabric. Oh, look at that. I skipped ahead, so we can hopefully go quickly through this one. Before you can explore the end-to-end capabilities of Microsoft Fabric, it must be enabled for your organization. You may need to work with your IT department to enable Fabric for your organization. The permissions required to enable Fabric are either Power BI Tenant Admin, Power Platform Admin, or Microsoft 365 Admin. Fabric can be enabled at the tenant level or capacity level, meaning that it can be enabled for the entire organization or for specific groups of users. If you don't have access to Fabric, contact your Power BI administrator to find out if it's available to you. Important, you'll need a trial license to use Fabric. Get a trial license for more information. All right, excuse me. And here's how you can check your access. If you'd like to check your access to see if you have access to Fabric in your organization's tenant, sign into the Power BI and look for the Power BI icon in the bottom left of the navigation pane. If you see the Power BI icon, select to see the experiences available within Fabric. If the icon isn't present, Fabric's not available to you. Okay, so it's right down the corner. It's right where we were talking about down here, right? It's these things. Oh, can you see that? It's these things right down here, right? So when you click on this guy in the lower corner, that's what you'll have access. You'll be able to tell if you have access to it. All right. Note, to find out if Fabric is available to you, contact your Power BI administrator for more information. about how admins can enable Fabric. See, enable Fabric for your organization. I'll grab this and post this in the chat so you got access to it. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, Adam is calling out how much he appreciates this, and good job, Shannon. So you're in chat, you probably saw that, but well done. All right, so enable Microsoft Fabric. If you have admin privileges, admins have the option to make Fabric available to either the entire organization or specific groups or users who can be based on their Microsoft 365 or Azure Active Directory security groups. Oh, I didn't know this was expanded to include M365 groups. That's good to know. Admins can also delegate the ability to enable Fabric to other users at the capacity level. Shows what I know. I got started when we couldn't even share with Active Directory groups. That was a painful time. So happy to have that, and happy to see M365 is in there too. Create Fabric-enabled workspaces. All of Fabric items, Lakehouses, notebooks, pipelines, etc., are stored in OneLake and accessible via Fabric workspaces. Workspaces must be in premium capacity to use Fabric. If you don't have access to premium capacity, you aren't able to use Fabric. Select trial and premium capacity. Setting to selection of the workspace settings page to enable premium capacities in your workspace. Okay, right there. For more information on enabling premium capacity, see premium capacity settings. Again, we'll reference that inside the chat.
Chris, I have a question about this piece. So
Yeah.
yesterday when I was enabling it, I was able to do it on my paid license and subscription, which, I always try to do everything on a paid license and subscription. But I went over then to my dev tenant and tried to enable it there, and I did not see that option at all. So if you're going to start from scratch here, do you have a dev tenant that you can show it on, or is that not part of where you're at right now?
Well, so I mean, technically, this is my dev tenant. This is where I do all my development.
Okay.
Is inside of here. So I do know inside of the admin portal.
Yeah.
If you don't have this turned on, or if this is disabled, you can't move forward. So you have to first make sure that that is set. And then the next thing you need to do is go in and turn on a trial capacity, right? Like I've got one already here.
Okay.
I don't know where that
Chris,
came from.
can I jump in with a little additional info?
Please.
Just because I experienced this yesterday. Fabric is not available in all regions. And so for some folks, depending on where your dev tenant lives, you may not have access to Fabric. There are instructions in the docs for how to switch the region that you're working in. But if you feel like you've done everything right, you've enabled it in the admin portal, you've also enabled the trial, and you're working in a Fabric-enabled workspace and still it's not working, check your region. That would be my next best recommendation. Yep.
I'm going to do it while Chris is doing his thing, because I'm sure it's something I did wrong. I'm positive about that. So I'll go look at it while he's doing his thing.
Maybe not, though. Maybe not. Give yourself a little break.
Yep. We are, I don't know, are we at 72 hours from the announcement yet? I mean, there's got to be like a degree of like, hey, some of the stuff isn't there yet, right? Like,
oh yes,
right?
Oh,
like,
yes.
Like
yes.
if things don't work today, no big deal. Like, move on to other things. Come back, check it out. Odds are it's going to work tomorrow, or it's very shortly in the future. Like, this is all the dev process, right? Like, this is how this goes. So, and big, huge deployments, right? These things happen, right? I did see a question about PPU in the chat. PPU does not allow that. I had issues with that. I was trying to use it with just PPU. If you're finding it's working, I'm going to guess that you somehow have triggered the creation of a trial capability, and so that the trial is running. I have personally seen PPU fail. So if you have it working in a PPU environment where your environment here is not a full-on a premium capacity, or you have a bug, not that it's going to work like that. All right, create resources in Fabric. After you created your Fabric-enabled workspace, you can start creating resources in Fabric. You can create resources in Fabric using the Create menu in the upper left-hand corner of the Power BI service. That's right. So that's the Create one. All right, and as you know, it really depends upon what experience you're in as to what items you see in your Create experience. So, for example, in this screenshot there in the Power BI experience, so we see the build report items. Now, the nice thing about this is, even from within that experience, you can always go to the see all. So you can go to like anything that you need. Even if you're in a Power BI experience, you can flip into like the data engineering or the data integration stuff, right? Belinda, you don't have a lot of bugs. Just bugs exist and those things happen. So, all right. Explore the Fabric experiences. Fabric experiences refer to the different capabilities included in Fabric. You can switch between experiences using the experience switcher at the bottom left corner of the navigation pane. You may notice that Fabric experiences look similar to other Microsoft data offerings. Fabric is built on Power BI and Azure Data Lake storage and includes capabilities from Azure Synapse Analytics, Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, and Azure Machine Learning, which makes Fabric unique that it brings these capabilities together in a single SaaS integrated experience without the need to access Azure resources. That is right there. That is fantastic. That's the promise of Fabric, right? All right, here we go. This is a knowledge check. So get ready. I'm gonna be asking the questions. We're going to be answering them in the chat. These are multiple choice, so I'm looking for participation on this stuff. So get ready, all right? And hopefully you're doing it along with me, so like you'll see these on your own and you can answer them, because then at the end you'll be done with them too. All right, first question. Which of the following is a key benefit of using the Microsoft Fabric in data projects? One, we're going to use A, B, C, for all these. So in the chat, and wait for me to read them out. I want you to say A, B, or C, if based on the answer. A, it allows data professionals to work on data projects independently without the need for collaboration. B, it requires duplication of data across different systems and teams to ensure data availability. Or C, it provides a single integrated environment for data professionals and business to collaborate on data projects. Which one is this? I'm hoping I can do my actual search this way. Maybe I'll pass the certification test if I can do it like this. All right, yes.
Just that one quick note, these questions are not written by the same folks that write the certification questions. So they're not the same.
Drat. Explain why I never passed those. All right. Yes. No, it's not B. It's not C. It's not B. It's not A. Right? Like, we're all working together. We're not duplicating data. We're doing it all in a single place. So good. All right. Going on to number 2. What is the default storage format for Fabric's OneLake? Is it A, Delta Parquet, B, JSON, or C, CSV? Delta Parquet, JSON, or CSV? Jessica says A. Emmanuel, I'm going to presume you're selecting the other one because it's not CSV. The answer is Belinda. We're getting lots of back and forth, but I think people might be behind in the live stream. A little bit of lag there could cause this. The answer is A. It is Delta Parquet. Fantastic responses to everyone. Good job. Good job.
Chris, can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
So Delta Parquet, is
Mhm.
that I've heard about it. I know I've heard it on Guy in a Cube. They've talked about it. Shout out to Adam. But is it a technology that Microsoft bought? Is it something that Microsoft developed? I hear about it, but I don't really know what it is. Like,
You know,
other than I know the name.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, Jessica, because so let's start with Parquet. Parquet is an open source file format similar to JSON or CSV, but it's designed for rapid access to the data that is inside of that file, right? Like if you look back at, I forget all the historical engines that use Parquet files, but like Databricks got started real hard on Parquet files, and there's many tools that were using this open source storage format to read it and be able to provide fast information. The challenge occurred in that the Parquet file would become locked while it was being read or written to, so analytics would just suddenly stop because something was going on with the Parquet file, and we'd have to do weird things to manage the loads of a Parquet file. So that you'd have analytics to be able to run on top of it, especially large files. Oh yeah, Adam is right. Hold on, hang on. All right, Adam, you're a moderator now. Thank you. So Parquet was really good for speed, but all of a sudden you couldn't add stuff, you couldn't update it. Like if you were doing like a long load of a file, and sometimes like files took a long time to load because you'd be talking about very large files. It was an issue. So Databricks, they'd kind of been pioneering in this space. They created what was known as a Delta Parquet file. Because it actually had addressed two issues, as I recall, and someone could check me. And the quickest way to be proven wrong is to state something wrong. But there's actually two things. It was the loading as well as data type enforcement. So in a Parquet file, you could stream stuff in. But you know what? If you happen to start streaming in dates or you had text or any of that other stuff, no big deal. That was just fine, right? Because lots of data flowing in, stream it in, all good. Delta Parquet allowed you to those two things, which was continue to stream data in while people were reading it, and you wouldn't have that locking issue going on, and then also maintain the file or the data type structure on that. So I believe those were the two big things that are out there for why you'd want a Parquet file and why. The Delta Lake being the standard for OneLake is super important. Jessica, does that answer your question?
Yes, and it gives me more to go look up. Adam's given me some homework now, so
awesome.
Okay, so now I got to do some research. Thank you.
You bet. All right, on to question 3. Which of the following Fabric workloads is used to move and transform data? Is it A, data science, B, data warehousing, or C, data factory? Move and transform data. Now, technically, everyone moves and stuff, but primarily, what are we talking here? Oh, and Adam does bring up another thing, which is Delta Lake. Also, or Delta Parquet also maintains ACID properties. That's a big deal with big data. Having ACID transactions was something they didn't have, so it was a real problem. But the answer is C. Everyone's answering C. Good job. Let's see if we're right. Oh my gosh, if we're wrong here, Shannon, I'm going to say there's a bug, but let's see. Ah, yes. Hey, well done, everyone. Good job. All right. In summary, data professionals are increasingly expected to be able to work with data at scale and to be able to do so in a way that is secure, compliant, and cost effective. At the same time, the business wants to use data more effectively and quickly to make better decisions. Microsoft Fabric is a collection of tools and services that enable organizations to do just that. In this module, you learned about Fabric's OneLake storage, what workloads that are included in Fabric, and how to enable and use Fabric in your organization. Well done, everyone. All right. Good job. Did everyone pass? I hope everyone has passed and you're following along at home so you get those points, because we are moving on to Module 2. All right. We're going to flip back here. I'm going full screen, just kind of to create a break between the sessions for the YouTube logarithm, and then I'm going to go back to the desktop. But we covered the summary and the introduction to what the heck is Microsoft Fabric. I think that's a pretty good overview. I think we found only one place where we really, or two places that we need clarification, Shannon. I think that's awesome. That first visual, right, where it didn't look like it was mapping right, and then like that we should have more on the data science side. So well done. All right. Oh, and Shannon is dropping soon. But thank you so much for joining and being part of this, Shannon. So that's great.
Thanks, Chris. And just one quick note to everyone, as you're going through this material, at the bottom of every screen, there's a little feedback button. So if you notice that, and sorry, you have to be in the unit. So Chris, if you click on like, there you go. You see down there, reporting an issue.
Great.
So if you provide specific feedback by reporting an issue, it'll take you to another screen where you can really super elaborate. And we look at all of this feedback. So feel free to let us know what you think. I know it's extra work and we don't all have the luxury of time, but if you do have the time, we would really appreciate that feedback and it'll help us make this content better.
2 items. 1.
Oh, I've got these ones noted.
Okay. All right.
Those 2 are great. So thank you so much. And look, in the next couple of days, you'll see that updated.
That is so impressive. Thank you so much, Shannon. I really appreciate that. That is absolutely fantastic. And before we go on to Fabric, I will take this moment to say what occurred. I've said this before, but maybe people haven't heard this stuff. Why I started working with Power BI, I actually owned and ran a Tableau shop. I didn't own it, but that was my platform. I managed it. I picked the tool, and I got invited to a private preview of the green Power BI thing, whatever it was called, for in SharePoint and stuff like that. And there was a functionality that I thought, gee, I wish you could sort the items inside of there. And so like I posted that like on a forum, like, gee, it'd be sure nice if we could sort this. And like a PM called me up like 2 hours later, like, explain what it means to sort. If you had a magic wand, what would sorting look like inside the tool? And so I explained it, and 3 days later, a week later, it was in the tool. All of a sudden we could sort and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I've never seen any company that in tune with customers' feedback ever before, or ever, other than Fabric here. I've just never seen that. So it just amazing. All right. I'm hearing I might have the wrong thing here. Did it jump ahead? Oh, look at that. It just jumped me to, because I had completed it. I'm sorry. Yes, get started with Lakehouse. Good call, Donald. Yep, we're going to go ahead and go back into get started with the Lakehouses in Microsoft Fabric. Whew. See, this is why we have you guys here, keeping me honest, keeping me on the track on this stuff. So, all right, we're going to jump in right now. Get started with Lakehouses in Microsoft Fabric. Lakehouses merge data lake storage flexibility with data warehouse analytics. Microsoft Fabric offers Lakehouse solutions to comprehensive analytics on a single SaaS platform. Your learning objectives. In this module, you're going to learn how to describe core features and capabilities of Lakehouse in Microsoft Fabric, create a Lakehouse. Ooh, I'm excited about this. Ingest data into files and tables in the Lakehouse, query the Lakehouse tables with SQL, and then add. What am I adding? I've never seen that before. Are we supposed to really be able to add stuff into here? I want to add. Oh, this is me adding it to. Okay, I got it. Sorry, you can add it to your learning stuff. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into this guy. Sorry. All right, introduction. The foundation of Microsoft Fabric is Lakehouse, which is built on top of OneLake scalable storage layer and uses Apache Spark and SQL compute engines for big data processing. A Lakehouse is a unified platform that combines the flexibility and scalable storage of a data lake, the ability to query and analyze data of a data warehouse. Imagine your company has been using a data warehouse to store structured data from its transactional systems, such as order history, inventory levels, and customer information. You have also collected unstructured data from social media, website logs, and third-party sources that are difficult to manage and analyzing using the existing data warehouse infrastructure. Your company's new directive is to improve its decision-making capabilities by analyzing data in various formats across multiple sources. So the company chooses Microsoft Fabric. In this module, we explore how the Lakehouse in Microsoft Fabric can help address scenarios like this by providing a scalable and flexible data store for files and tables that you can query using SQL. Okay. So, what we're talking about is that Lakehouse, and I like this so much, is it combines like the random dropping of files that were data lakes or data swamps that the big data was classically built from and with, and that honestly, in many ways, other data scientists get a lot of value out of, right? That random organic data that is generated and it's just a mishmash and quality ranges and varies greatly inside there, to that fully structured modern data warehouse that businesses run and operate on, because they know that they need to be able to depend upon the data. They need to be able to know that it's right, and like your financial auditing information has to be spot on. You can't have like, it's 80% right. 80% ain't right ain't a thing for finance, right? So Lakehouse allows us to have the best of both worlds in a single environment, so you can build your reporting and analytics off of both places of that. All right. All right. Next unit, explore the Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse. All right, let's keep going. A Lakehouse presents a database and is built on top of a data lake using Delta format tables. Lakehouse combined the SQL-based analytical capabilities of a relational data warehouse and the flexibility and scalability of a data lake. Lakehouses store all data formats and can be used with various analytical tools and programming languages. As cloud-based solutions, Lakehouses can scale automatically and provide high availability and disaster recovery. Some benefits of a Lakehouse include Lakehouses use Spark and SQL engines to process large-scale data and support machine learning or predictive modern analytics. Lakehouse data is organized in a schema on read format, which means you define the schema as needed rather than having a predefined schema. Lakehouses support ACID, or ACID transactions, which is atomic, I'm not going to say that, consistency, isolation, durability, transactions through Delta Lake formatted tables for data consistency and integrity. Basically, it's the qualities, ACID's the qualities from databases that we have counted on for multiple decades, where you could depend upon as it's being written. It's, you're not going to see transitive stuff, right? It's going to be consistent and durable and retain. You won't get partial reads, partial writes, that type of thing. Lakehouses are a single location for data engineers, data scientists, and data analysts to access and use data. A Lakehouse is a great option if you want a scalable analytics solution that maintains data consistency. It's important to evaluate your specific requirements to determine which solution is the best fit. Microsoft Lakehouses.
Hey, Chris, before
Yeah.
you go on to that, can I ask another question?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think this is? So Data Marts was rolled out for, I think it's only available like in premium, right? And premium per user. Where does this fit into that, or where does Data Marts fit into this?
So that's a fantastic question. I cannot.
And if that takes us off track, no problem. I just, I remember I took your class at one of the conferences where you did the sequel, and we repeated the where and all that kind of stuff. And
Select from where?
feel like this, I feel like this is kind of gonna replace Data Marts, but I don't really know. That's why I'm kind of asking the question.
Actually, so I know I don't have an architecture diagram on this right at my fingertips. Matthias says data marts are dead. I'm going to contend it's not, because I'm going to contend that data marts still fit in to the classic. I think it's Kimball defined how this works, where you have a data warehouse, and from within that warehouse, or a data lakehouse, a unit that wants to have a focused area that they're contributing and adding to, would then bring that data that they have from that lakehouse into that data mart to be able to source enterprise content, but commingle stuff that they have that they're using for their department. I always liken this to like, where would you store the people and the customers who attended the December 2022 Christmas party list, right? That's not something that necessarily needs to be in the enterprise data space, right? Like, you don't need to have and know who were attending all the Christmas parties, but marketing might want to do analytics on that. And so marketing might want to store that inside of their data mart, so that they can do mashups against what's in the enterprise data warehouse, so that they can run analytics based upon that, because it's something that would be impossible to do otherwise, and having it be part of something bigger like a lakehouse or something like that might be difficult for them to manage. Now, with that said, they could probably create their own lakehouse, but I think that might end up creating some issues and challenges there. But I think some people are going to find that the data mart fits what they need to a T, especially because a data mart is just getting a SQL server through a GUI front end that you don't have to manage and have to have DBAs to assist you with, or tell you can't deploy something to, or you'll get in the way of you owning and running that SQL server. So I think there's still a huge play with data marts. Does that answer your question, Jessica?
Yes, it does. Thank you. For me, I always have to contextualize all these parts, like, where does everything fit? So thank you.
No, and frankly, that's a slide I've been kind of playing with it for a while. I just don't have it in a way that it conveys the right information, nor do I know exactly where that is to just pull that up. So I'm going to not show that right now. But that's where that fits, okay? All right. Microsoft Fabric Lakehouses. In Microsoft Fabric, you can create a lakehouse in any premium tier workspace. After creating a lakehouse, you can load data in any common format from various sources, including local files, databases, or APIs. Data ingestion can be automated using Data Factory pipelines or data flows Gen 2 in Microsoft Fabric. Additionally, you can create Fabric shortcuts to data in external sources, such as Azure Data Lake Store Gen 2 or Microsoft OneLake location outside of the Lakehouse's own storage. Oh, that's a big deal. All right, so the enterprise creates an enterprise lakehouse. You can just link to it. Oh, that has lots of, especially if you start to think about a data mesh framework. We'll talk about that later. The Lakehouse Explorer enables you to browse files, folders, shortcuts, and tables, and view their content within the Fabric platform. After you've ingested the data into the Lakehouse, you can use notebooks or Dataflow Gen 2 to explore and transform it. Note, Dataflow Gen 2 are based on Power Query. Hey, Power Query everything, that's what we're talking about. A familiar tool to data analysts using Excel or Power BI that provides visual representation of transformations as an alternative to traditional programming. Data factory pipelines can be used to orchestrate Spark, Dataflow, and other activities, enabling you to implement complex data transformation processes. After transforming your data, you can query it using SQL, use it to train machine learning modules, perform real-time analytics, or develop reports in Power BI. Dear God, that's so powerful. You could also apply data governance policies to your Lakehouse, such as data classification and access controls. Next unit, work with Microsoft Fabric Lakehouses. Continue. All right. Now that you understand the core capabilities of the Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse, let's explore how to work with one. Create and explore a Lakehouse. You create and configure a new Lakehouse in the data engineering workload. Each Lakehouse produces 3 named items in the Fabric-enabled workspace. 1. The Lakehouse is the Lakehouse is the Lakehouse storage and metadata, where you interact with files, folders, and table data. Dataset default is an automatically created data model based on the tables in the Lakehouse. Power BI reports can be built on this dataset. Oh, so this is exactly what happens when you create a data mart, right? You create the data mart, you get the data set that comes with it automatically. Oh, that's cool. And SQL endpoint is a read-only SQL endpoint through which you can conduct and query data with Transact SQL. Oh, that's cool. So when you create the Lakehouse, you get all 3 of these things. And this is the data warehouse. This is so you get the Lakehouse, you automatically get the data warehouse, and you get the data set to start working with. Oh, this is fantastic. Oh, hey, thanks, Adam. Thanks for the tip there. I appreciate that. I gotta get some like alerts or something that pop up. I haven't really had enough of that type of thing to do that, but maybe I'll start doing that now. All right. You can work with the data in Lakehouse in 2 modes. 1, Lakehouse enables you to add and interact with tables, files, and folders in the Lakehouse. Okay, cool. And SQL endpoint enables you to use SQL query the tables in the Lakehouse and manage its relational data model. Okay, cool. Oh, hey, Kevin. Welcome. Okay, so let's talk about how we can ingest data into the Lakehouse. Oh, it's not SQL endpoint, and that's the Lakehouse symbol. But okay, good point. Okay, there's some confusion around that, I'll say, Adam. Ingest data into the Lakehouse. You can load data into Lakehouse using multiple ways, including upload local files or folders to the Lakehouse. You can then explore and process the file data and load the results to tables. Dataflow Gen 2, import and transform data using a range source using Power Query online, load it directly into the table or Lakehouse. Data factory pipelines, copy data and orchestrate data processing activities, loading the results in tables or files in the Lakehouse. And shortcuts, connect to external files such as OneLake, Apache Data Lake Storage Gen 2 locations. Oh, this is awesome. This means, so for me, and if you're in my position, like you're using data flows to load a data mart, or you're using data flows to then load a data set, this means we can take those data flows, take that Power Query, put it into a Dataflow Gen 2, and load it into a Lakehouse. Oh, that is fantastic. Note, Fabric shortcuts enable you to integrate data into your Lakehouse while keeping it stored in external storage. For more information, see OneLake shortcut documentation, Microsoft Fabric documentation. Dear God, if Josh is still on, I'm so looking forward to our conversation on that stuff. That stuff is gonna uh, I'm really looking forward to learn more about OneLake and getting more into that stuff. All right. Oh, and Adam's pointing out that it is a Spark SQL. Interesting. Okay. So if you've ever used SQL and you've used Spark, go over to use Spark SQL. There are some small changes, but Jessica, what we say at our presentation? What are the basics of SQL? Select from where? Right.
Yay!
That's right. If you know select from where, doesn't matter if you're in Spark SQL or T-SQL, it's SQL. You're going to be in and using it. The only place where I saw it was a little different, I was a little irritated by that, was KQL. Although last time I looked at that was a while ago, maybe it's different. But select from where is your cornerstone, and then you just learn in little syntax things, get a little ticky-tacky or different, but that's about it. All right. Explore and transform data into Lakehouse. After loading data into Lakehouse, you can use various tools and techniques to explore and transform it, including Apache Spark. Oh, that's big. Each Fabric Lakehouse can use Spark pools through notebooks or Spark job definitions to process data in files and tables in the Lakehouse using Scala, PySpark, or Spark SQL. Ooh. Notebooks in this case. Interactive coding interfaces in which you can use code to read, transform, and write data directly to the Lakehouse and as tables and or files. And then Spark job definitions. On-demand or scheduled scripts that use Spark Engine to process data in the Lakehouse. Oh, I want to get more into this. That'll be interesting. Looking forward to that. Yeah.
So can I ask a question about that? Are those things? I love my specificity there. Those things. Are those more data engineering kinds of things?
Yep. Yeah, everything when we start talking about transforming data, we're really talking putting on our data engineering hat. And so in the Power BI world, the data engineering hat that we'd use over there was Power Query. Okay? Now that we're in Fabric, we get the Power Engineering tools or Power Query data engineering tools, but we also get these classical data engineering. Well, and I say classical; these things have been around for like, I don't know, 5-10 years, somewhere's in their tops, right? But what's considered the current data engineering tools are out there, right? So you get the low-code, no-code solution, which is Power Query, but you also get the enterprise-grade solution, which are these Apache Spark solutions. Okay.
But how does that fit with Azure Data Factory then?
Azure Data Factory is the orchestration for any of these, right?
Okay.
So Azure Data Factory says, okay, hey, run this Power Query or run this notebook. Or run this notebook, then run this Power Query, then run this notebook, right? And that's exactly it. And that's why.
Can I just say this is the most exciting piece for me, because this to me is the grow up story for all those people that I've been training in Power Query Editor, who may have finally, gotten to the point where, okay, that's no longer a black box. This is that step up. And I mean, because you're listing out things here that I'm like, don't know what that is, but just love that it's now accessible to me, to learn.
100%. And I also love that the people who come from business and love Power Query, they're able to do the stuff with Power Query to bring in entities, define them, get them up and running. But those people who are just coming out of school and they've spent the last 4 years working with Python and working with PySpark and Spark SQL, they can now come in and they can contribute and they can start to use notebooks and they can start to build out data assets. And those can coexist in the same workspace. So now we got this wonderful You know, did you put your chocolate in my peanut butter? No, I think you put your peanut butter in my chocolate, right? A situation going on where we have the best of both worlds working together in one space. So I think this is going to be a huge step forward because now we can gain the insights that people coming right out of college are bringing, and that fresh look at these classical problems, while retaining the ability for people who have that deep wisdom and knowledge of our business to work and contribute at the same level in the same space. Oh, again, goosebumps thinking about this stuff. So, so excited about it. All right, keep going. SQL endpoints. Each Lakehouse includes a SQL endpoint through which you can run transact SQL statements to query, filter, aggregate, and otherwise explore data in the Lakehouse tables. I thought this was PySQL, but per Adam's comment, maybe that's something that needs to be updated. If Shannon, if you're watching this on replay, maybe that's something we need to do, or we need to submit that as a feedback item. All right. Dataflow Gen 2, in addition to using the Dataflow to ingest data into Lakehouse, you can create a Dataflow to perform subsequent transformations through Power Query and optionally land transform data back into the Lakehouse. Oh, this is so wonderful. A big thing that we've been lacking for a long time, and I feel like the Mandela effect on this one has occurred. If you're not familiar with the Mandela effect, it's where you recall vividly a reality that is not the one you're currently existing in. But my Mandela effect is I recall vividly building out data flow pipelines that loaded basically raw data into data flows, and then building data flows off of that to bring into a curated data flow, and then another data flow to put it into a gold or a modeled data flow. I remember working it out. I remember documenting the whole process, and I remember putting best practices on it, and I remember reviewing it with someone who also remembers this going on and running through it. But that's not true. In the past, in this reality we're in today, you could not do a chain data flow like that. It didn't work. It didn't allow you to do that. Unless I've now gone back to the original reality, but no, it didn't work. Now with Fabric, we can do that story, right? So we can do the land. We can do, land as it is, transform it, add business rules, then model it and shape it and share it out. So powerful, so wonderful that we finally get that in. And then data pipelines. Orchestrate complex data transformation logic that operates on data in the Lakehouse through a subsequent of activities, such as data flows, Spark jobs, and other control logic. Analyze and visualize data in a Lakehouse. The data in your Lakehouse tables is included in a dataset that defines a relational model for your data. You can edit this dataset or create other datasets, define custom measures, hierarchies, aggregations, and other elements of your data model. You can then use the dataset as a source for a Power BI report that enables you to visualize and analyze the data. By combining the data visualization capabilities of Power BI with the centralized storage and tabular schema of a data lakehouse, you can implement an end-to-end analytic solutions on a single platform. God, how wonderful. All right. Keep going. Okay. Good. Exercise. Ooh, here we go. Create and ingest data with the Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse. In this exercise, explore Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse tasks like creating a lakehouse, importing data, querying tables with SQL, and generating reports. The exercise emphasizes the importance of the lakehouse as a central component in data engineering, warehousing, and analytics, enabling users to effectively manage and analyze the data within the Lakehouse environment. Note, you need a Microsoft Fabric trial license with Fabric Preview enabled in your tenant. So you're getting started with Fabric to enable a trial license. I think I've shared this already, but hey, for those people who are watching this on replay and watching the chat, I'm putting it into the chat again just so you have access to it. All right, let's launch this exercise and let's work through this. Okay, wait a minute. That did in the same window, didn't it? I don't like that. I hate that. Open link in new tab. There we go. All right, create a lakehouse. Large-scale data analytics solutions have traditionally been built around a data warehouse in which data is stored in relational tables and queries using SQL. The growth of big data characterized by high volumes, variety, and velocity of new data assets, together with availability of low-cost storage and cloud-scale distributed compute technologies, has led to an alternative approach to analytical data storage, the data lake. In a data lake, data is stored in files without imposing a fixed schema for storage. Increasingly, data engineers and analysts seek to benefit from the best features of both of these approaches by combining them into a lakehouse, in which data is stored in files in a data lake and a relational schema is applied to them as a metadata layer so that they can be queried using traditional SQL semantics. In Microsoft Fabric, a lakehouse provides highly scalable file storage in a OneLake storage built on Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 with a metastore for relational objects such as tables and views based on the open source Delta Lake table format. Delta Lake enables you to define the schema or tables in your lakehouse you can query using SQL. This lab takes approximately 30 minutes to complete. Before you start, you'll need a Microsoft Fabric license to complete this exercise. You can get started with Fabric. Link already there. For details on, yes, hey, Donald, thank you for popping in. And everyone, thank you guys for joining and hanging in there. This is recorded. You'll be able to watch it in replay, so do feel free to come and go and come back. But we're going to keep this going on this. For details on how to enable Fabric, blah, blah, blah. We already did that. After enabling Fabric trial, we decided the portal, app.fabric.microsoft.com. You should see a Power BI logo at the bottom left that you can use to switch to the various workload experiences supported by Microsoft Fabric. If the logo is not visible, you may need to ask your organization's administrator to enable that functionality. So we're going to share that again. Boom. All right, that's out there. All right, so we're going to do this. Let's do this. Good old Windows. And we're going into Power BI. Now, we're going to create a workspace. What are we doing? Fabric Lakehouse is the workspace we're going to create because we're going to use a new workspace specifically for this demo. So I'm creating my workspace. I'm going to advanced. I'm making sure that I choose either my trial license, which is my Fabric license, or I can use a premium capacity. I've got a trial, so I'm going to do the same thing that you guys would do. So I'm going to hit trial and say apply.
So Chris, the interesting thing for me when I did this was because I don't have premium, all I saw was like a trial. So there was, I just say that for people who maybe don't have premium, but you can still get the experience even if you don't have the premium capacity. You just have to click trial.
That is a great comment, Jessica. Yeah, so if you don't, you may not have these, and that's perfectly fine. Just trial is the Fabric trial, right? It's the Fabric trial that we're talking about here. So you can still do this. So let's hit apply. Yeah, everyone should have a test tenant. It's 100% worth the effort. You learn a lot in setting up the test tenant, but you definitely should do that. Okay, so I've created select workspaces, create a new workspace with the name of your choice, selected a trial licensing mode, done. When the workspace opens, it should be empty and look like that. Hey, look at that. It looks just like that. All right, so create a lakehouse. Now that you have a workspace, it's time to switch to the data engineering experience in the portal and create a data lakehouse for your data files. At the bottom left of the Power BI portal, switch to the data engineering experience. The data engineering homepage includes tiles to create commonly used data engineering assets. All right, so let's do that. Go to data engineering. Awesome. In the data engineering homepage, create a new lakehouse with the name of your choice. All right, we're going to do, is there another item here? I'm a little short. No, okay, yeah. So create a lakehouse. Waiting. All right, it's going to ask for my name. It's my fabric lakehouse. Create. My fabric lakehouse is my fabric lakehouse. Nice and consistent here. Yeah, and please do follow along. If you have questions or you're running into any issues as we go, here is the time and the place to ask it, right? So this is hopefully very valuable to connect and ask about stuff. Okay, so we're in here. Hopefully that's created for everyone. Note, a SQL endpoint for SQL querying by and a default data set for reporting is being created and will be updated with any tables added to the lakehouse. Oh, cool. So that's automatically created and you get a notice on that. Awesome.
So can you explain that though? I don't know what that, I'm sorry. I'm here just to ask the dumb questions, but what does that even mean? SQL endpoint.
Yeah. So if I go back in that okay, so these are the three things that's saying it's creating. The lakehouse, right? That we that we're going to be loading and managing our data. That's a combination of just files as well as tables, schema specific tables. A data set, which is what you can connect Power BI to, that streams the data from the lakehouse. We can add in joins, we can add in measures. All of that good stuff exists inside the data set. And the SQL endpoint is where you can connect to through a variety of different tools to query that content and get results. Okay, does that make sense, Jessica?
Kind of. I don't want to hold us up. But let me just ask one question. Is the underlying engine then Vertipack, just like it is in Power BI?
For data sets.
For data sets.
For SQL, it's I think it's PySQL, but however you want, whatever engine you want to use, either your machine learning or your SQL or Spark engines, or your Vertipack, any of those engines can access and use this common data, the data that's stored in this common format.
Okay, I'll have to go away and think about that. Have a think, as the Brits say.
All right. View the new Lakehouse and note the Lakehouse Explorer pane on the left enables you to browse tables and files in the Lakehouse. Yep, I have no tables or files, so awesome. And this is where you'd have files in like the data section area, the stuff that's all like crazy JSON, that type of a stuff. But tables would be your data warehouse side of the Lakehouse, right? View the new Lakehouse and note the Lakehouse Explorer. The tables folder contains tables that you can query using SQL semantics. Tables in the Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse are based on the open source Delta Lake file format commonly used in Apache Spark. The files folders contains data in the OneLake storage for the Lakehouse and aren't associated with managed Delta tables. You can also create shortcuts in this folder to reference data that is stored externally. Currently, there are no tables or files in the Lakehouse. All right, so we're going to upload a file. Fabric provides multiple ways to load data into the Lakehouse, including built-in support for pipelines that copy data externally or data external sources and data flows Gen 2 that you can define using visual tools based on Power Query. However, one of the simplest ways to ingest small amounts of data is to upload files from folders on your local computer. Okay, so we're going to download this sales file. Download. Oh my. What the heck? Why is my download not working? All right. Well, that's so weird. Why doesn't right-click download? Why isn't that a thing? Huh. Okay. And now is time. I actually have to. We're going to take a little commercial right now. The commercials for oh my gosh, Notepad++, Notepad++, the text editor of choice for professionals everywhere. Use it for free. This is not a paid promotion. I'm just joking. But if you're not using Notepad++, you should be. Sales CSV. Let's save that. Go back over here. Return to the web browser tab containing the Lakehouse, and in the new menu in the menu on the Files folder of Lakehouse Explorer, select New Subfolder and create a subfolder named Data. Okay. So go here. Oh, new subfolder. Call this one Data. Create. I'm not your fancy VS Code people, Kevin. Notepad++ for old school devs. All right. In the menu for the new data folder, select Upload and Upload File, and then upload the Sales folder. Okay, is it really going to be that easy? Get that French toast out of here. Oh my Lanta.
It really is that easy. It is. Well, that was what failed for me last night when I was doing it yesterday, but today it works. So, and it really is that easy.
Oh my gosh, look at that. So, do I have data? Okay. Is there? Look at that. I can now see it there. So if I select the file, select the file's data folder and verify the sales CSV is there. It is there. Select the sales CS file to preview its contents. Oh my Lanta, look at that. I'm working in Microsoft Fabric, baby. Woo! All right, explore shortcuts. In many scenarios, the data you need to work with in your Lakehouse may be stored in some other location, hopefully, right? While there are many ways to ingest data into the OneLake storage of your Lakehouse, another option is to instead create a shortcut. Shortcuts enable you to include externally sourced data in your analytics solution without the overhead and risk of data inconsistency associated with copying it. In the Files folder, select New Shortcut. In the Files folder, New Shortcut. Launching shortcut window. View the available storage types for shortcuts, then close the new shortcut. Okay, we're not going to create one, but so if we're going to someone else in Fabric, I could go into here. I could find content that was available to me that I could link to that had been shared to me, or oh no, backspace is not what you want to do. Oh, ha ha ha! Look at this! Look at this! I use the backspace doesn't work, but this new I heard a name for it on the guy in the Cube live stream. Adam called it. What'd you call it, Adam? I don't know if he's still listening. The multitasking. Multitasking saved the day. Brought me right back into it. That's awesome. Although I was mid thing, so look at the shortcut window. Probably mucked me up. Let's just refresh. There we go. All right, so all good. All right. So we were just exploring what it's like to create a shortcut, so we can see new shortcut. Here's the wizard. You can go through what's shared to you or create stuff. Awesome. Cool. All right. Now we want to load file data into a table. The sales data you upload in its file, which data analysts and engineers can work with directly by using Apache Spark code. However, in many scenarios, you may want to load the data from the file into the table so you can query it using SQL. Oh, that's true. All right, on the home page, select Files Data, or Files Data folder so you can see the sales SV, or sales CSV file, then select Load to Table. Oh my gosh, right there.
This is the part that I thought was like data marts. This is what made me think that this is like replacing data marts. Seemed like it was like data marts.
Well, so the activities between what someone does in a data mart and what someone does in an enterprise space are the same. You find data, you load it in. You do that to a data warehouse, you do it to a data mart. And that's because these activities are the same, the essential activities. That's why Fabric makes so much sense. Bring all these capabilities together so that we can all have access to these capabilities, because frankly, that individual contributor who's out there trying to understand what's going out in the world, that person needs to be able to source data, load it to some place, and do some analysis. That enterprise person has those same needs, and everyone in between, right? Everyone in between has the exact same needs to take on that individual, that team, that department, or that enterprise challenge. They all need those same capabilities. And that's why you're going to find a lot of these patterns are interchangeable. And that's why having those same tools, having those same capabilities makes such perfect sense. All right, so I loaded it. Load to table, dialog box, set the name to sales and confirm the load operation. Then wait for the table to be created and loaded. Tip: if the sales table does not automatically appear in the menu for the tables folder, select refresh. It already automatically appeared, so that's awesome. In the Lakehouse Explorer pane, select the sales table that has been created to view the data. Awesome. So I create it. Oh, interesting. Unable to identify these tables as objects. So that didn't work. Wonder why that didn't work.
Yeah, Chris, I would say try it
Sales.
again, because I
One.
tried 4 times yesterday and it didn't work, and then it worked magically this morning.
Okay.
So
Yep.
I think we're just dealing with,
Yep.
speed bumps.
Yep. Oh, and look at that. And in fact, the first one did work. It just took a little bit of time for it to like come through. Right? So my first one, my sales 1, I bet it's loading or whatever it's doing. Oh, interesting. But it's cool kind of that you got like an item found. Hang on, what's going on there? Oh, look at that. All my stuff is broken out into a table as I'd expect it to. Cool. Okay, in the Lakehouse Explorer, select sales. Okay, we did that. In the menu for the sales table, select view files to see the underlying files for the table. Okay. Oh, and so we expand it. We can see all the different data types, and we can go to, what was it? View files. Oh, okay. Here's my Parquet file, my Delta Lake Parquet file, and my Delta log for any updates that are coming in. And then the temporary thing for what's flowing in versus what's already written in. Awesome. I believe it's the temporary thing that gives it the ACID capabilities, because that's something else. So, but awesome. Underlying tables. Yep. Files for a Delta table are stored in Parquet format and include a subfolder named Delta log. Yep. In which the details of transactions applied to the table are logged. Yes. Use SQL to query tables. When you create a Lakehouse and define tables in it, a SQL endpoint is automatically created through which tables can be queried using SQL statements. At the top right of the Lakehouse, switch to Lakehouse to SQL endpoint, then wait for a short time before your Lakehouse opens in a visual interface. You can query tables as shown here. Okay, so we just scroll over. Okay, I'm in the Lakehouse. Oh, great question. Let's go take a look. Jay Murphy, does it still exist? Yes, it still exists here as a CSV, and it exists inside of the Parquet file. Great question. Oh, which that creates some redundancy there for us. That's cool. All right, if I switch over to my SQL endpoint, Jessica, I think this is what's going to look so much like, yeah, look at this. It looks just like data marts. All right, so we've got
I
all.
can practice my select from where.
Yes, we
I'm
can.
so excited.
Look at this new query. Query. Or I can do new SQL query. Oh, I'd already done that. So, okay. So they give us one right here, so we can just copy and paste it over. Then hit run. Oh, come on. Look at that. Look at that. Look at it. How wonderful. Look how fast that loaded, brought it all in. That's awesome. All right, and we ran it, so that's good. All right, create a visual query. Oh, okay. So I could create a new visual query. Drag the sales table over. All right, good. Drag that over. Right, in the manage columns, select choose columns and select only sales order number and sales order line number. All right, so manage columns, choose columns. Gonna unselect. I'm gonna choose those two. Okay. So I'm down to just those two. In the transform menu, select group by. Transform group by. Sales order number. Sales order number. Okay. New column name. No, we want to have not fuzzy group items. Line items. And then operation count distinct values. Oh, look at this. And then base it on sales order line number. Cool. Awesome. And then okay, when you're done, results. Okay. Look at that. We did the same thing using the visual query now. How cool is that? All right, so I have my, just to zoom in so you can see it. I have got my, first query. I've got my first query that I wrote, and I've got my visual query here too. Now, cool thing about this is, you can rename this. Why is it not? Let me rename it. Oh, test 1 or whatever, right? Like if I'm doing like, so this is my visual query, but I could do like validation of order number. Right, and then these queries get stored with my Lakehouse, so other people could come in and use this stuff. Oh, how exciting! Oh, look who is joining us live on the show, Kevin Arnold. Kevin, good morning. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How's everybody out there?
Oh, fantastic, Kevin. Welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself to the people on the live stream? Where are you from? What do you work? What do you do?
Yeah. So where I'm from, Dallas, Texas. My claim to fame is I'm friends with Chris. I appreciate everything he does. This is a wonderful thing. As Chris, I'm a fellow MVP, and I've been looking into Fabric for a while as well. So I'll just kind of jump in and out, where needed, and kind of like Jessica, add questions. I'll maybe help take them from the chat for you to help out there, and just jump in with my opinions when I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hopping on, Kevin. Realized I had a free morning today, kind of impromptu, and thanks for everybody who's like coming in and joining us. So really appreciate that.
Hey, Kevin, you cannot be like me. First of all, you are not a quilter. Second of all, you are not going to ask the dumbass questions that I'm asking. So that's my problems, Kevin.
I meant just jumping in, adding conversation so that Chris isn't just talking to himself. But thank you, Jessica. I'll take that as a great compliment.
It is. It is a great compliment.
Awesome, awesome. So glad to have you. And you're here for us creating our first report. So this is exciting. Are you following along at home, Kevin, or have you done this already?
I have not done this exercise, but I
Okay.
have done other things. So,
Okay.
yeah, I know where you're going. I'm going to probably walk through this myself at some point.
All right. Awesome, awesome. So I hope people are playing
Hey,
along at home. Yes,
Chris,
Jessica.
can I just ask you a housekeeping question? How
Yeah.
long are you anticipating this going? Just because I don't want to leave. I'm riveted to my screen, but I got other stuff.
I completely understand. I do have a response video, like a reaction, where I'm going to be doing some stuff that's scheduled at noon, probably for like I'll need like a half hour, a little break in there to stuff before that. So no later than 11:30 on.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You bet. All right, all right. And Jessica, you can hop off if you need to go do things. We are continuing to press through on this
never.
stuff, right?
Never, 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 never. I'm here. I'm glued.
Awesome. And Legendary Bullstrike has a question. For those of you who are just tuning in, it helps us if you preface questions with a Q so it stands out. But if not, we do what we can to answer any questions. I'm not Guy in the Cube here. I'm not Adam with 5,000 people in my chat. So it's easier for us to curate those. But you had a good question on pricing. I think what we're going to see when it comes to Fabric is I like to think of it in many ways as a much more simplified pricing model, where we're going to be talking pretty much only about capacities, okay? In the same way that Power BI has premium capacities that you use for like enterprise management and distribution of content, Fabric is going to have capacities that we use to manage workloads broadly across the platform. And the good news is we're going to have a wide range of scalable capabilities because we're talking about a shared capacity that they'll be able to be used by data engineers, data analysts, and data scientists. So we'll see very, very small capacities to just spin up and do little bits of work, and we'll see very, very large capacities for managing larger and larger data sets and workloads that are out there. The price will range, and be based upon the size and how long you run them. Some of the details of how long you can have these things spin up or spin down is still up in the air. Kevin just shared a great article that kind of runs through that. The big difference is Power BI is still going to have pro licensing and PPU licensing for the Power BI features. Fabric will not have as far as they've said so far, Fabric is not going to have licenses. So if you're a data engineer or if you're a data scientist and you want to come in and start to do stuff inside of the workspace, you won't have to worry about licensing. Today, you have to have a pro license to create a workspace. I understand that will, or a Power BI Pro license to create a workspace. I understand that will be pulled back at some point in time in the future. Again, that has not been released, but they have, like, the official stance on that has not been released, but that's what's being communicated out by Microsoft as the intention or the thoughts on it. Some of these things go back and forth. Lawyers get involved, and I don't want to guarantee it for you, okay? But the idea, what's that, Kevin?
I was going to say, I think another thing to point out is, like I said, the Power BI stuff kind of remains almost, the same. You got to have a pro license to create the Power BI type of things. But I saw the same thing. The intent is that on the other SKUs, somebody without a pro license can create a workspace to do the Fabric type objects. And then on the capacity for allowing anybody to be a viewer on the Power BI objects, it still gets up to what the equivalent of the P1 capacity is. It starts at that point. So there's going to be smaller capacities, but you won't have unlimited viewing access to the Power BI objects until you hit the equivalent of the P1.
Yeah, Kevin is spot on that. Uh, yeah, it's that F64 level that is the trial capacity. It's funny that they set that, so now you can create stuff in the trial and share it with everyone in your company. But hey, that is what it is. That is what it is. Let's see here. And Emmanuel, thank you for tuning in as long as you can. Family stuff always takes priority, so go ahead out and do that. Catch up. This is recorded. You can check it out later. So, thanks so much. All right. So, creating a report. Let's dive into this. The tables in your Lakehouse are automatically added to a default data set that defines a data model for reporting with Power BI. At the bottom of the SQL endpoint page, select the Model tab. The data model for the schema of the data set is shown. Okay, so let's do that. Oh, yeah, look at that. There it is. Oh, interesting. There's my other one. Let me remove that from the BI model. Don't really need that there. I'm sure it'll come off in a second. All right. Okay, so that's there. We're in the model tab. Note, in this exercise, the data model consists of a single table. In a real-world scenario, you would likely create multiple tables in your Lakehouse, each of which would be included in your model. You could then define relationships between these tables in the model. In the menu ribbon, select the Reporting tab, then select New Report. Okay, so menu ribbon. Okay, so Reporting tab, then New Report. Oh, let's see what happens. Oh, I have to sign in again. All right, and oh my gosh, it's Power BI. Who would have thought?
So one thing to notice, Chris, is you clicked on remove that second table from the data set.
Yep.
And when you were in that other view, you still saw it, but here it hides it.
Yeah. I would wager if I refreshed this, it would be gone. Is my
I haven't
thought.
noticed that. I've noticed it to still sit in that setup. Okay. So I think it's there. You could add it back if you want, but it's almost like hide the entire table is how I'm kind of thinking of it right now.
Okay.
But when you get to the report view, you don't see it anymore, which is the important part.
Right. Okay, so now we create this in the data table. I can do my traditional stuff, right? I can create this. I can say unit price, quantity, whatever. All right, so I've got all of that stuff I can put together, and I'm sure I can create measures and I can. Right, following along. I can create the stuff on the file. I can file, save.
Hey, Chris or Kevin, question.
Yeah.
So, speaking of measures and so on, do you guys, and maybe it's off topic right now, but this whole idea, I think there's a DAX Copilot. Did I hear that right as part of this?
That's in preview, of which I have not seen, and I do not know anyone who's personally outside of Microsoft.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I created a report and I saved it. All right. So I've saved it to my Lakehouse. Saved it. Close the browser tab containing the report to return the SQL endpoint of your Lakehouse. Oh yeah. So if I close this, I go right back into here. Awesome. Then in the hub menu bar on the left, select your workspace to verify it contains the following items. All right, so I'm going back to my Fabric Lakehouse. So I should have my Lakehouse. Yes, that's the Lakehouse, Fabric Lakehouse right there. SQL endpoint for my Lakehouse. Yep, right there. A default data set for your Lakehouse. Yep, default there. And the item sales report right there. Holy cow. Now clean up the resources. In this exercise, you've created a Lakehouse, import data into it. You've seen how a Lakehouse consists of files and tables stored in a OneLake data store. The managed tables can be queried using SQL and include a default Lakehouse to support data visualizations. If you finish exploring your Lakehouse, you can delete the workspace you created for this exercise. In the bar to the left, select the icon for the workspace to view all of the items it contains. In the dot menu, select workspace settings. Workspace settings. In the other tab, you can click on remove this workspace. I would remove it, but I'm very proud of this, so I'm going to keep it, and the Power BI Luchador will just have to be okay with it. All right. So, and awesome. All right. Holy cow, we did it. We did it. Oh, that's so awesome. I hope you guys are playing along at home, because if you were, we created a lake house and a report off of it right now. Mark the date and time. 5/26/2023, 10:26 in the morning. We did that. Well done, everybody. Killer work. All right, we are on to our knowledge check. Let's see if we learned how to do this. Let's answer questions again. If you weren't here for the first knowledge check, we're going to be doing this through the chat, so please comment in the chat if you know the answers to these questions. When I read the questions, we'll be going A, B, or C for the answers. Please post those in the chat. We'll be answering following what you've put into the chat. So, on your check your knowledge, what is a Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse? Is it A, a relational database based on the Microsoft SQL Server database engine? B, a hierarchy of folders and files in the Azure Data Lake Store Gen 2? Or C, an analytical store that combines the file storage flexibility of a data lake with the SQL-based query capabilities of a data warehouse? Is this C? We've got C from Alt-Enter and Murphy. I think it's C. Anyone else? Give a second for lag. I think you're right there. All right, if we go on to the next question. You want to include data in an external data lake storage Gen 2 location in your lakehouse without the requirement to copy the data. What should you do? Should you create a data pipeline that uses copy data to load the external data to a file? Well, it says don't copy, so that doesn't make sense. Should you create a shortcut, or should you create a data flow Gen 2 that extracts the data, loads it into a table? All right, is it A, B, or C on this one? Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is B. You're right. We don't want to be copying it. Both of these create copies, right? So I think the big promise of OneLake is the ability to not replicate files. Not that you can't do it, right? Like copy paste is still going to be a thing, right? So we're going to have to do a lot of changing of people's behaviors in order to get there, but that's the castle on the hill thing, right? All right, you want to use Apache Spark to interactively explore data in a file in a lakehouse. What should you do? Should you A, create a notebook, B, switch to SQL endpoint mode, or C, create a data flow Gen 2? Let's see. You know, it's interesting. I don't think we did a notebook in this one. So, but if I wanted to use Apache Spark is a notebook. So yeah, I think it's create a notebook.
Yeah, we didn't, I don't recall the verbiage covering that. So, yeah. I mean, it might have, and it just might have gone over my head, but.
And it did cover it in the verbiage in one of the things, but that should have been something we did in the lab, but we didn't. It's all right, but we could try that. Let's see. Booyakasha. We did it. Well done. All right, good deal. Summary. Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse provides data engineers and analysts with the combined benefits of a data lake storage and a relational data warehouse. You can use a lakehouse as the basis of an end-to-end data analytics solution that includes data ingestion, transformation, modeling, and visualization. To learn more about lakehouses in Microsoft Fabric, see what is a lakehouse in the reference documentation. Boom. I'm going to send that across. Okay, so Murphy is also confirming that was not covered, so we are not crazy. All right, going on to our next module. Use Apache Spark. Now, this is the right next module, right? So we did introduction end-to-end. We did that. We did get started in Lakehouse. Awesome, we did that. And now third module is use Apache Spark to get up and running. So let's see. This one says an hour. You know what? Let's see if we can get through this one here. But let's also be prepared that we might have to come back on this guy. All right. Oh, look at that. It took me where I was. So good news. If you leave and come back, look how it Microsoft Learn keeps you on track where you need to be. So that is a good benefit. So Lindsay, thanks or Shannon, thanks the Learn team for that. Introduction. Apache Spark is an open source parallel processing framework for large-scale data processing and analytics. Spark has become popular in big data processing scenarios and is available in multiple platform implementations, including Azure HD Insights, Azure Databricks, Azure Synapse Analytics, and Microsoft Fabric. This module explores how you can use Spark and Microsoft Fabric to ingest, process, and analyze data in a lakehouse. While the core techniques and code described in this module are common to all Spark implementations, the integrated tools and ability to work with Spark in the same environment as the other data services and Microsoft Fabric makes it easier to incorporate Spark-based data processing into your overall data analytics solution. Next up, prepare to use Apache Spark. Buckle up, here we go. All right. Apache Spark is a distributed data processing framework that enables large-scale data analytics by coordinating work across multiple processing nodes in a cluster. Put more simply, Spark uses a divide-and-conquer approach to processing large volumes of data quickly by distributing the work across multiple computers. Oh, interesting. The process of distributing tasks and collating the results is handled handled for you by Spark. You submit a data processing job in the form of some code that initiates a driver program, which uses a cluster management object called the Spark context to manage the distribution of processing in the Spark cluster. In most cases, these details are abstracted. You just need to write the code required to perform the data operations you need. Spark can run code written in a wide range of languages, including Java, Scala, a Java-based scripting language, Spark R, Spark SQL, and PySpark, a Spark-specific variant of Python. Most data engineering and analytics workloads are accomplished using a combination of PySpark and Spark SQL. Oh, that makes so much sense when they talk about Spark. It means you run code and boom, all these things up and run and start happening at the exact same time. That is cool. All right. Okay. Cool. Let's see here. Let's see here. All right. Let's keep going. Spark settings. In Microsoft Fabric, each workspace is assigned a Spark cluster. Okay, interesting. An administrator can manage settings for the Spark cluster in the Data Engineering Science section of the workspace settings. Okay. Okay, that's down here in the Spark Compute and Data Engineering. Got it. Specific configuration settings include node family, the type of virtual machine used for the Spark cluster nodes. In most cases, memory-optimized nodes provide optimal performance. Runtime version, the version of Spark and dependent subcomponents to be run on the cluster. And Spark properties, Spark-specific settings that you want to enable to override in your cluster. You can see a list of properties in the Apache Spark documentation. Oh my, look at all this stuff. Oh, all this stuff you can start to really tune in on. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, cool.
So Spark is let me see if I can repeat back.
Mhm.
Is Spark a open standard technology? Is that what this is? Is it a language
It's
too?
it's the engine. Spark is the engine like Vertipack. Okay? And on top of that Spark engine, in the same way we can write DAX on top of the Vertipack engine, the Spark engine allows for Java, Scala, Spark R, Spark SQL, and PySpark to run on it. Okay, so in many ways, it serves a more diverse language base than Vertipack. Okay.
So the underlying engine is different if we use a Spark cluster.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. This is where I start getting into deep water for me.
Well, so
Deep water.
yeah, so this is brand new for a lot of people. If you haven't done like the enterprise data engineering space, this is the enterprise engineering space. So now you get like baby steps into it, but you don't have to manage all these things. It's the workspace administrator, and well, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in a bit, but like Fabric optimizes it to give you the best settings that you're most likely going to need. Now, again, like with all low code to pro dev processes, there are things that are going to be easier on the low code side that, and you'll be able to do some basic stuff on the pro dev side. But you could go super deep in this and make your career, doing this work, right? So understand, like, there's going to be a paradigm of where you get involved and where you don't, right? Totally okay. All right, libraries. Spark open source ecosystem includes a wide selection of code libraries for common and sometimes very specialized tasks. Since a great deal of Spark processing is performed using PySpark, the huge range of Python libraries ensures that whatever the task you need to perform, there's probably a library to help. By default, Spark clusters in Microsoft Fabric include many of the most common used libraries, but if you need to install other libraries, you can do so on the library management page in the workspace settings. Tip: for more information about library management, see Manage Apache Spark libraries in Microsoft Fabric in the Microsoft Fabric documentation. All right, I'm going to go ahead and grab this and post this in the chat. Now, a big thing about this, and this is where you can get some really cool stuff in here, is there are a ton of libraries that can help with like data cleansing and data management. Do spend some time looking through all this stuff. Just tons and tons of cool capabilities that exist inside of here. But now you can really look at that stuff and just even Google, like, heck, use ChatGPT. What are some good Python libraries to use or Spark libraries to use? All right, run Spark code. To edit and run Spark code in Microsoft Fabric, you can use notebooks or you can define a Spark job. When you want to use Spark to explore and analyze data interactively, use a notebook. Notebooks enable you to combine text, images, and code written in multiple languages to create an interactive artifact you can share with others and collaborate. These notebooks are super powerful, Jessica. You're going to love these once you start to work with them, okay? I swear you will. Notebooks consist of one or more cells, each of which can contain markdown formatted content or executable code. You can run the code interactively in the notebook and see the results immediately. Spark job definition. If you want to use Spark to ingest and transform data as part of an automated process, you can define a Spark job to run a script on demand or based on a schedule. All right, so here it is. File type, here's a Python definition file. Upload local. Yep. To configure a Spark job, create a Spark job definition in your workspace and specify the script it should run. You can also specify a reference file, for example, a Python code file containing definitions or functions that are used on your script, and a reference to a specific lakehouse containing data after the script processes. Yes, Legendary Bullstrike is calling out if you're starting, the big ones you want to get started with are NumPy and am I saying that? NumPy, and Pandas for data cleansing and transformation. Tons of other data libraries, but like those are huge. Good shout out. All right, let's work with data in a Spark data frame. Natively, Spark uses a data structure called a resilient distributed dataset, or RDD. But while you can write code that works directly with RDDs, the most common used data structure for working with structured data in Spark is the data frame. All right, which provides a part of the Spark SQL library. Data frames in Spark are similar to those in the Pandas Python library, but optimized to work in Spark distributed processing environment. Note, in addition to data frame API, Spark SQL provides a strongly typed dataset API that's supported in Java and Scala. We'll focus on a data frame API in this module. I did not know that they went to a strongly typed. This must have happened a while ago, or this could have happened a while ago. When I first did my evaluation, it was a weakly typed, and that threw me off entirely because we had all sorts of issues with weak type. So that's awesome. Weak type means you could just like kind of write crazy stuff and it'll like sort it out and figure out what you're doing, but then like no one understands your code whatsoever. So congratulations, you have a job forever supporting your own code, but no one else can ever support it. So like that to me was a no-go for every enterprise. Like you have to have code that could be supported, right? So now it's strong type. That's awesome. All right, loading data into a data frame. Let's explore a hypothetical example to see how you can use a data frame to work with data. Suppose you have the following data in a comma delimited file named products.csv in the files data folder of your Lakehouse. Okay, is this actually it? All right, so let's say that's there. Inferring a schema. In a Spark notebook, you can use the following PySpark code to load data into a data frame and display the first 10 rows. Here it is, PySpark. Here's your data frame where you're going to go get that data. Format CSV, headers true. And then display limit 10. Yep. The PySpark line is called a magic and tells Spark that the language used in the cell is PySpark. You can select the language you want to use as a default in the toolbar of the notebook interface, then use a magic to override that choice for a specific cell. For example, here's the equivalent Scala code for the products data example. So you could do Spark, valdiff, okay. So same thing, right? This is PySpark, this is Scala, although interesting, they say Spark, not Scala, but okay. The magic Spark is used to specify Scala. Oh, that's not confusing at all, but hey, what do I know? Both of the code samples would produce the output that just shows these values as a table. Okay, cool. Specifying an explicit schema. In the previous example, the first row of the CS file contained the column names, and Spark was able to infer the data type of each column and the data it contains. You can also specify an explicit schema for the data, which is useful when the column names aren't included in the data file. That makes sense. The result would once again be similar to producing that table side. Okay. Tip, specifying explicit schema also improves performance. Oh, good to know. So you might even want to do that on the other one. Filtering and grouping data frames. You can use the methods of the data frame class to filter, sort, group, and otherwise manipulate the data it contains. For example, the following code example uses a select method to retrieve product name and list price columns from the df data frame containing product data in the previous example. Price list df equals df.select product ID and list price. The results of the code example looks something like this. So, okay, so is it defined df? Oh, look. Here's where we define the data frame is equal to that. And here we list data frame.select. Got it. In common with most data manipulation methods, select returns a new data frame object. Selecting a subsequent subset of columns from a data frame is a common operation. which can also be achieved by using the following shorter syntax. Priceless df equals data frame product list ID list price. You can chain methods together to perform a series of manipulations that result in a transformed data frame. For example, this code chains the select and where methods to create a new data frame containing the product name and list price columns for the products with the category of mountain bikes or road bikes. Okay, so we did this before, and then we've got a where. Okay. Where data frame is this or this. Got it. And then display it. Okay. And so we created a data frame, bikes data frame. Got it. And clearly you don't have to use DF in your naming of a data frame, but boy, underscore data framing sure does make that look like it's easier to read, right? To group and aggregate data, you can use group by method and aggregate functions. For example, the following Apache Spark code counts the number of products for each category. Okay, counts data frame. Right, so the same data frame, but then group by category. So that's category here, and then count. Oh, that category is going to count on product ID. Got it. That makes sense. Saving a data frame. You'll often want to use a Spark transform raw data and save the results for future analysis or downstream processing. The following code example saves the data frame into Parquet file in the data lake, replacing an existing file of the same name. Oh, look at that. We got an override on it, and then Parquet file for bikes Parquet. Note the Parquet format is typically preferred for data files that you will use to further analyze or ingestion into an analytical store. Parquet is a very efficient format that's supported by most large-scale data analytics systems. In fact, sometimes your data transformation requirement may simply be to convert data from another format, such as CSV, to Parquet. Oh, I bet that's what that table job did, right? When we went in and we were in our Lakehouse. Where's our Lakehouse? Lakehouse, right? Oh, Lakehouse type. If I go in here, when we did that, create as the data, we did this load to tables. I bet behind the scenes it's doing this, creating a Parquet file. Which is simple, right? Like that makes it looks like
So question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Question for you there, Chris.
Yep.
So I tried to also bring in an Excel file and load it to a table, and it doesn't do it. Doesn't even get it. Is that because I can't convert a Excel file to a Parquet format? I'm trying to make connections here. That's all.
I bet there's more transformations necessary to do that conversion, right? You probably have to select a table or something along those lines, or get down to a subset, right?
And that's fine. I don't want to get us off track, but it just made me think that maybe it's because I can't go directly from an Excel file to a Parquet file, which is what you were just saying we did when we did load the tables.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure. I again would have to really look into that, but I think that's something that that could be.
No worries.
Could be a thing.
I think the first table or the first file type that Chris used it was CSV, right? Not
yes,
correct.
The instructions called CSV. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So to do Excel.
But what I'm saying, Kevin, is that I tried it on Excel.
Right, which is not CSV. Excel is actually written in a different format.
So can I not?
There might be. We'll have to look into it, Jessica.
Okay, so I'd have to convert the Excel to CSV.
Well,
or
that would definitely work.
There might be Python. There could be a Python library that could be used. There could be, right? I'm going to say $2. It depends. There's other ways of doing it. Gen 2 data flows might be a good option there.
Yep, that's exactly where I was going, Kevin. Yeah, just get it in, and then you'll be good to go. Although that'd be a great thing to put a blog out on, like, hey, this is what you do, right? So. Ah,
Thank you. Just trying to connect the dots. And sometimes the dots are not lining up for me.
I understand. Oh my gosh. All right, there we go. All right, so let's keep going. Partitioning the output file. Partitioning is an optimization technique that enables Spark to maximize performance across the worker nodes. More performance gains can be achieved when filtering data inquiries by eliminating unnecessary disk I/O. To save data frames as a partitioned set of data, use partition by method when writing the data. The following example saves the bike DF data frame, which contains product data for the mountain bikes and road bike categories, and partitions the data by category. So partition by category, mode overwrite. Okay, there we go. That's a good idea. The folder names generated when partitioning a data frame include partitioning column name and value in a column equals value format. So the code example creates a folder named bike underscore data that contains the following subfolders: category mountain bikes, category road bikes. Each subfolder contains one or more Parquet files with the product data of the appropriate category. Oh, this makes sense. So this type of thing is going to be incredibly important on, I would imagine, on high cardinality files, so that you can rapidly find, let's say, a product or a customer number or something like that, right? And do updates and adjustments and changes. So, yeah, very excited about that. That would be good. Yes. All right. Cool. Note you can partition data by multiple columns, which can result in a hierarchy of folders for each partitioning key. For example, you might partition sales order data by year and month, so the folder hierarchy includes a folder for each year value, which in turn contains a subfolder for each month value. Interesting. Load partition data. When reading partition data into a data frame, you can load data from any folder within the hierarchy by specifying explicit values or wildcards for the partition fields. The following example loads data for the products of the road bikes category. Road bikes data frame is Spark read Parquet files data bike data category equals road bikes. Display road bikes underscore data frame dot limit 5. Note the partition columns specified in the file path are omitted in the resulting data frame. The results produced by the example query would not include a column or a category column. The category for all roads would be road bikes. Okay. So you wouldn't see road bikes as a result. You'd see everything that's underneath it. That makes sense. All right. Work with data using Spark SQL. The DataFrame API is a part of Spark library named Spark SQL, which enables data analysts to use SQL expressions to query and manipulate data. Create database objects in the Spark catalog. The Spark catalog is a meta store for relational data objects such as views and tables. The Spark runtime can use the catalog to seamlessly integrate code written in a Spark-supported language with SQL expressions that may be natural to some data analysts or developers. One of the simplest ways to make data in a data frame available for querying in the Spark catalog is to create a temporary view as shown in the following code example. Dataframe.create or replace temp view product view. Okay. A view is temporary, meaning that it's automatically deleted at the end of the current session. You can also create tables that are persistent in the catalog to define a database that can be queried using Spark SQL. Tables in a metastore structure that store an underlying data in the storage location associated with the catalog. In Microsoft Fabric, data for managed tables is stored in the table storage location shown in your data lake, and any tables created using Spark are listed there. I got it. I made it. Okay. Sorry. You can create an empty table using the spark.catalog.create table method, or you can save a data frame as a table by using the save as table method. Deleting a managed table also deletes its underlying data. For example, the following code saves a data frame as a new table products. df data frame write format delta dot save as table products. Got it. Notice the Spark catalog supports tablespace on files in various formats. The preferred format in Microsoft Fabric is Delta, which is the format for a relational data technology on Spark named Delta Lake. Delta tables support features commonly found in relational database systems, including transactions, versioning, and support of streaming data. Okay. Got it. Okay, additionally, you can create external tables by using the spark.catalog.create external tables method. External tables define metadata in the catalog, but get their underlying data from an external storage location, typically a folder in the file storage area of a lakehouse. Deleting an external table doesn't delete the underlying data. So I wonder, this seems like it's like that linking thing, or maybe that is the table linking behind the scenes. Interesting. You can apply the same partitioning technique to Delta Lake tables as discussed in the Parquet files in the previous unit. Partitioning tables can result in better performance when querying them. Using the Spark SQL API to query data, you can use the Spark SQL API in code written in any language to query data in the catalog. For example, the following PySpark code uses a SQL query to return data from the products table as a data frame. Okay. Yep. The result from the code looks something similar to the following. Okay. So basically is select and product ID, product name, list price. Why doesn't it have product ID? Because that's the... Is that the distribution it's on? Maybe that's an issue. Using SQL code. The previous example demonstrated how to use a SQL API to embed SQL expressions in Spark code. In a notebook, you can also use the magic word to run SQL that queries objects in the catalog, something like this. So percent SQL, and then your classic SQL select from nowhere necessary. Select from where. All right, awesome. Visualize data in a Spark notebook. All right. One of the most intuitive ways to analyze the results of data queries is to visualize them as charts. Notebooks in Microsoft Fabric provide some basic charting capabilities in the user interface. And when the functionality doesn't provide you with what you need, you can use one of the many Python graphic libraries to create and display visualizations in the notebook. Using built-in notebook charts. When you display a data frame to run SQL query in Spark Notebook, the results are displayed under the code cell. By default, the results are rendered as a table, but you can also change the results to view a chart and use the chart properties to customize how the chart visualizes data as shown here. Oh, look at that. See, this is exactly the type of insights that data scientists have been producing forever, but often gets lost inside of these notebooks, because how the heck do you get access to this? Even if they wanted to share it, it was impossible. Now, this is all inside of an environment that users are used to coming into, so you make that more accessible.
I think that's a great point. And what I'm wondering, I haven't had a chance to test with it yet, but the idea of Power BI available in notebooks. Remember that announcement as well?
Yep.
So you could produce your data frame here and then produce, a maybe even more robust visual or set of visuals with that Power BI in notebooks. So
yeah, that I mentioned
So
earlier.
I have a question. Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah, let me hang over. We'll head over to that in just a second. But I will say that first
Yep,
meeting
yep.
I had in September,
Yep.
September 18th of 2019, was asking for that capability to get injected in, but to have the notebooks all the notebooks and Power BI to be in the same environment. So it's exciting to see that stuff now, like, and amazing the amount of work that goes into that, right? Like that ask was huge, and to see it finally coming out is awesome. And we're going to ask your question, Jessica. But Legendary Bullstrike has posted some really good tips here. Big Python libraries for creating charts are Matplotlib and Seaborn, as well as Plotly. Those are huge libraries that people add into their Python notebooks to create some really stunning visuals inside of here. So do check those out. That could be really helpful in visualizing data in a dynamic way. And I think, honestly, that can help a lot of people in Power BI find better ways to visualize their data is by using some of those capabilities. All right, Jessica, what was your question?
Building right off of what you just said. So you said when you introduced this, that this is the kind of stuff that data scientists have been working with for years, but it never sort of bubbled up to, a level. Well, you didn't say this exactly, but to a more generic level, I guess. But I guess I'm looking at this example and thinking, what about this wouldn't or couldn't be produced in Power BI, other than the fact that it's an absolutely terrible pie chart? But besides that, so I guess because of my lack of knowledge, really.
Yeah. So this is not a great example of the incredible visuals that you can get, but there's some like visuals and like heat map visuals and a number of things where you're trying to visualize large amounts of data and like have a visual representation of them. These notebooks are much better for that. I mean, because they were designed to be looking at crazy data and then find a way to like hone in on what's going on in there and visually identify things. So, there's,
Okay, cool.
strengths and weaknesses, right? Like some of the stuff like this, bad, but other stuff can be good. Yep.
Thank you. That helps because I have no knowledge of notebooks, so appreciate that.
Yes. Yep. You bet. Legendary, I think this is going to eliminate our need for gateways because now we just load it in. So, but not 100% sure that experience is fully fleshed out. We'll get there soon enough. All right. When using a display to data frame to run a SQL query in Spark Notebook, the results are displayed under code cell. By default, results are rendered as a table, but you can change the results to view as a chart and use the chart properties to customize how the chart visualizes the data as shown here. Right. The built-in charting functionality in Notebook is useful when you want to quickly summarize the data visually. When you have to have more control over how the data is formatted, you should consider using a graphic package to create your own visualizations, which is what we were talking about in the chat. Boy, what a good chat. What a good group today. You guys are stellar rock stars. All right, using graphics package in code. There are many graphics packages you can use to create data visualizations in code. In particular, Python supports a large selection of packages, most of them built into the base Matplotlib library. The output from the graphics library can be rendered in a notebook, making it easy to combine code to ingest and manipulate data within inline data visualizations and markdown cells to provide commentary. For example, you could use the following PySpark code to aggregate data from the hypothetical data explored previously in the module and using Matplotlib to create a chart from aggregated data, right? So here's the data we're using, that SQL stuff. Oh, here's where we're pulling in the Matplotlib and we're importing the PyPlot as PLT. So first, we're clearing the plot area. Now we're creating a figure on the plot area, and we're sizing it. Then we're defining our data bar or category, and we're setting our color. And then we're customizing the chart by saying the title, label, grid, ticks, and then show the plot. The matplot library requires data to be in a pandas data frame rather than a Spark data frame, so the toPandas method is used to convert it. The code then creates a figure with a specialized size and plot to bar chart with some custom property configuration before showing the resulting plot. The chart produced by the code would look similar to the following image. Well, this looks clean and nice. You can use the matplotlib library to create many kinds of charts, or if preferred, you can use other libraries such as Seaborn to create highly customized charts. Wow, like the legendary Bullstrike. Unless you're reading ahead, 100 Power BI, or I'm sorry, 100 Fabric points to you today for calling these out. In fact, 100 points for each of those libraries for calling those out. Well done, well done. All right. Analyze data with Apache Spark. Here we go. 45 minutes. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to try to get through this. Let's see if we can do this. All right. Launching another window. All right. Windows. Boom. Over there. Back over here. Into Fabric. All right. Analyze data with Apache Spark. Apache Spark is an open source data engine for distributed data processing and is widely used to explore processes and analyze huge amounts of data in data lake storage. Spark is available as a processing option for many data platforms, including HD Insight, Databricks, Synapse Analytics, Microsoft Fabric. One of the benefits of Spark is support for a wide range of programming language such as Java, Scala, Python, and SQL, making Spark a very flexible solution for data processing workloads, including data cleansing and manipulation, statistical analysis, and machine learning, and data analytics and visualization. This lab will take approximately 45 minutes. I'm just going to share these links here because I want to keep going. Copy link. Again, these links are for the people who are watching this on review, and you're like, oh my gosh, please click on that link and share it with me. So I'm doing that here. They're in the chat. You're hopefully following along with this. But we want to create a workspace. So we're going to create our Microsoft Fabric workspace. So,
Hey, Chris, just
yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I wanted to acknowledge that Jay Murphy put a question
Oh.
out there. I told him I didn't fully understand it, but it says, so is there a design that would allow this to be called as a loop component for Office 365 products? And then he had a second question of, is this not also tied into Graph for access, or am I missing something? I told him I didn't understand the first question. I don't know if you do.
I'm wondering if he's I'm not 100% sure on the loop one. If he's looking to like loop through different things inside the O365 space or not, a little unclear on that. Graph is like the Graph database and the Graph API stores large amounts of data broadly inside of like the Azure space. It's used for security and all sorts of other things. I would imagine you could leverage this to define Graph as a source and bring it in. Although I would probably look at another solution for that.
Yeah, well, there was a session during build, and I remember seeing it while we were watching the guy in the cube stuff, that they had some connector, and I can't remember if it was in Dataflow Gen 2 or somewhere else to Microsoft 365, right? So I'll go look at that while you still do this other stuff. I'll see if I can find what that session was. Okay,
awesome. Thank you. All right. So we're going in and created our workspace, and looks like it wants to create a Lakehouse. Well, you know what? I'm lucky. Glad I didn't delete my last Lakehouse, because apparently I still need it here. There's a pro tip. Don't delete it. Thanks, Legendary. We'll talk to you later. All right, let's keep going. I'm in the data engineering workspace, in the Synapse data engineering, create new warehouse, yeah. Download extract data files for exercise. Okay, open new file. Oh. Okay, so where'd my zip go? Downloads, orders. Okay. Yep, I extracted those files. They're in right here. Yep, return the web browse tab, including your Lakehouse. In the files folder, Explorer, select upload and upload folder. Oh, I have to upload the orders folder. Okay, so I do have the orders folder. So I'm going to file, upload folder, and I'm going to choose that orders folder. My downloads. Hello. I have a downloads. Oh. Well, what in Sam Hill? Okay. That was weird. Kevin, are you still there?
Yes.
All right. My headset.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. My headset just did a weird thing. I don't know what that was all about.
Okay.
All right, so I select the folder. I dragged my orders into the folder. You can't do it from the zipped folder. It didn't like that, so you have to have a regular folder. Upload 3 files to the site. Click upload. So upload. Look at that, it all flies in. Right, and my data, I've got my orders folder. Okay. After the files have been loaded, expand the files and select the orders folder. Yep. You can verify that the CSV files have been uploaded as shown here. Yes, yes, yes. Create a notebook. On the home page, while viewing the contents of the orders folder in your data lake, in the Open Notebook menu, select New Notebook. Okay, so Open Notebook, New Notebook. All right. After a few seconds, a new notebook containing a single cell will open. Notebooks are made up of one or more cells that can contain code or markdown formatted text. Yep, here we go. Select the first cell. There we are. I think this is what they're talking about. Yep. Select the first cell, which is currently called a code cell, and then in the dynamic toolbar at the top, use the M button. Okay, to convert the cell to a markdown cell. When the cell changes a markdown cell, the text contains it contains is rendered. Welcome to your notebook. Type here in the cell to edit and add code. Okay, so I could use the edit button to switch back. No. Oh, here. There it is. Okay, cool. Oh no, I grouped something. Son of a. Oops, don't do that. Use that button, switch to cell editing mode, then modify the code markdown as follows. Okay, so editing. Sales order data exploration. Use the code in this notebook to explore sales order data. Great. Click anywhere in the notebook outside the cell to stop editing it and see the rendered markdown. Oh, okay, cool. Load data into a data frame. Now that you're ready to run code that loads data into a data frames in Spark are similar to Pandas data frames in Python and provide a common structure for working with data in rows and columns. Note, Spark supports multiple coding languages such as Scala, Java, and others. In this exercise, we'll use PySpark, which is Spark-optimized variant of Python. PySpark is one of the most commonly used languages of Spark. Default language in Fabric notebooks, blah, blah, blah. When the notebook is visible, expand the files list and select the orders folder, okay? So that the CSV files are listed next to the notebook editor like this. Done. In the menu for 2019 CSV, select Load Data Spark. Load Data Spark. Oh, look at that. Ooh. Look at that. Right? A new node cell containing the following code should be added to the notebook. Yeah, I believe that's what's there. I'm going to minimize that to make this easy. Okay. Tip, you can hide the Lakehouse Explorer panes on the left by using their icons. Doing so will help focus on the notebook. Okay, so yeah, we can expand and collapse these. Cool. Use the run cell button to the left of the cell to run it. Oh, I ran everything, but I could have just run this. Okay. Note, since this is the first time you run any Spark code, a Spark session must be started. This means the first run in the session can take a minute or so to complete. Subsequent runs will be quicker. I got to tell you, Jessica, you probably don't know this. Kevin, you probably do. For those of you who are on the live stream and talking, it can often take minutes for a Spark cluster to spin up. Often that is the first thing that you have to do when working with Spark is go in, spin up a cluster, check an email or two, have a little bit of coffee, and then come back in and do this. When I read this, when I started reading this after hitting play, I was like, oh no, it's going to take 8 minutes to start this up. You saw it. It just loaded, right? Like, that is impressive.
I'm with you, Chris. This is one of the most impressive things because in the other notebooks that I've worked with or the other Spark clusters, like upwards of 5 minutes sometimes, right? And you would, like you said, you kind of would start it up and tell it to stay up for at least an hour, right? Or however many amount of time you plan on doing your work. And session and management, switching it between notebooks could be painful. This is such a nice experience. It's amazing.
Whew, wow. When the cell command is completed, review the output of the cell. Yeah. The output shows the rows and columns from the data 2019 file. However, note the column headers don't look right. Default code used to load the data into the data frame assumes the CS file includes column names in the first row. Oh, you're right. That's not it. Modify the code to set the header option to false as follows. Okay, so we're gonna copy this. I've copied it, and instead I'm gonna paste this in, and so header is set to false, and now I can run the cell. Wow, look at that. That's fantastic. Rerun the cell and review the output. So we've got our index and we've got our cells starting with 0. The appropriate index that starts at 0. That's huge. Now the data frame correctly includes first row data values, but the column names are auto-generated and not very helpful. To make sense of the data, you need to explicitly define the correct schema of the data values in the file. Modify the code again to include the Spark file names. Gosh, this really walks you through the whole thing. Right? So we went from just accessing it not being quite right. Wait. Oh. Did I not do right? Copy. Backspace. Paste. Boom. Wow. That's awesome. Run the modified cell. Looks similar. Yep, that's good. Now the data frame includes the correct column names in addition to the index, which is built in column in data frames based on the original position of each row. The data types of the column are specific using a standard set of types defined Spark SQL libraries, which are imported at the beginning of the cell. Data frame includes only the data from 2019 CSV. Modify the code so the file path uses a wildcard to read the sales order data from all of the files in the folder. Oh, that's cool. So instead of instead of files order CSV, this is a star. So I bet if I just change this to star instead of copying it, and then I go in and run it, it's going to give me all of the data. Oh yeah, look at that. 2021. Awesome. Run the modified code. Notice it comes from the values. Yep. Only a subset of the rows is displayed, so you may not be able to see examples from all years. Yep. Explore data in a data frame. Use a plus code function. Now that's going to be down here. Where is the plus code? Okay, I'm below the cell output. Oh, there it is. Oh, I have to say I dislike that plus code is hidden. I don't like that. It does. Yeah, you have to like hover over it. Yeah. Yeah, and now we can go in and I could take this. I said copy. So I'm copying the data frame. So I'm using the data frame that I had defined above, right? So the customer's data frame. So where's my data frame? Up here. It's up here. Yeah, my data frame. So I've already defined it here. Now that's where this DF comes from. So I can copy that. I can come over here and I can paste it in, and I can now run this cell. And look what it does. Boom, it's all right there. Gosh. Yeah, they've done a good job with this. This is awesome. All right, runs the new code in cell, review the results, observe the following. When you perform the operation on a data frame, the results is a new data frame. Yep. We still have our original data frame here. And, so we could have had 2021, run this data frame. We just have 2021 data. And we would then need to rerun this data frame down here. Right? To get just what's in, because it's referencing this data frame. Or we can change it back to the star and have everything. Oh gosh, that's cool. All right, so it's just contained in the and the new customers data frame, it's just the ones created from the subset in the data frame up here. So we're not going to see things that are not in this data frame. So if we're trying to like validate, we can easily do that by going back and forth. That makes sense. Such a count and distinct can be used to summarize filtered data. The data frame field syntax is a shorthand way of defining a subset of columns. You can also use the select method. So the first line of the code above could be written as customers equal data frame is select customer name email. Oh, I got it. So, okay, that makes sense. All right. Modified the code is as follows. So copy, paste, execute. Cool. Run the modified code to view the customers who have purchased the road product. Note you can chain multiple functions together, so the output of one function becomes the input for the next. In this case, data frame created by the select method in the source data frame to the where method is used to apply filtering criteria. I got it. Aggregate and group data in a data frame. Add a new code cell and enter the following code underneath it. Okay, so I just go down. This is a new one. So I hit enter, and I run this guy. Oh my gosh, look at this. So I've got my group, I've got my sums already together, and I can keep stringing this stuff together. Oh, why can't I create a new one? Oh, there it is. See, that's something I don't like. I don't like that you can't see that. But, I mean, look how easy this is to keep stringing these together and doing more stuff. Oh, look. But in this case, note the select method includes a SQL year function to extract the year component from the order date field, which is why the code includes the import statement. Okay. Import functions from the Spark SQL library. It then uses an alias method used to assign a column name to the extracted year value. Data is grouped by a derived year column, and count of rows in each group is calculated before the final order by function is set. I got it. Alias year. Group by year, count, order by. Gosh. Use Spark to transform data files. The common task for data engineers to ingest data in a particular format or structure to transform it to further downstream processing or analysis. Use dataframe methods and functions to transform data, and add the following new code to the cell or notebook. Enter the following code. Okay, that was easy. Go, adding a new book. Run. Oh, so look, run the code to create a new data frame from the original order data with the following transformation. Add year and month columns based on the order date column. So order date, year, month. Oh, look at that. Add first and last names based on the customer name. Okay, first name, last name. Yep. Filter and reorder the columns, removing the customer name column. Oh, look at that. So I don't have the combined customer name anymore. I just have the broken out one. Awesome. Review the output and verify the transformations have been made to the data. Yep. You can use the full power of Spark SQL Library to transform the data by filtering rows, driving, removing, renaming columns, and any applying other required data modifications. That doesn't read right, but see Spark data documentation. Going in the chat here. Oh, yeah, I agree, Murphy. This is such a different rollout. It's really cool, and I was thinking about this earlier today. This is such a different way, not just for a rollout, but we've been so spoiled by like monthly releases that like having a big release, kind of forgot what it was like to like get up to speed on, SQL Server 20, whatever it was, 2009 has come out, right? Like, what are all the changes? Look at all this stuff, right? Like years of work gets dumped on you. I think we're in a similar situation right now where years of work is being like kind of brought out on us. So it's cool though. All right. Oh, look, now we can save.
Yeah, it is years of work, but I also took his comment to say that they've put out so much good learning material, like especially what you're going through, that they really went end to end on this to help everybody come on board with it and everything. So I kind of interpreted that into his comment as well.
Yeah, you're spot on, and I agree. And I think for something like this, it has to be like this. I think they're very smart to engage so much and provide all these guides. Because Jessica, how lost are you as is? But are you hanging on at least as we do this?
I am okay. That's such a great question, because I think I am the target market for this.
Yes.
Like, not to put anything down about you and Kevin and all, but you already know a lot of this stuff. You're just integrating what you already know, and you're seeing it. I shouldn't use the word just. You are integrating all the tools and skills you've got, and you're seeing it all come together. But I am the target market for this because, like, yes, I am lost, but I'm picking out key concepts that you're talking about, and all I can hang on to is a couple of phrases and a couple of concepts, and then I'm going to go back and do what I did with Power BI, which is just read and practice and try, and but yeah, I was thinking about that. It seems to me like they've written this literature for someone like me who needs to who needs to learn this, and I wouldn't know where to start. Where to even start with this. So yes, and yes, I am lost, but I'm not ashamed to admit that.
Something that just dawned on me as an explanation is this notebook is your Power Query steps of accessing and bringing data in, starting to do your transformations, starting to add in your analytics.
That helped me right there.
And
huge light bulb.
At the very end, this is your load to your table, right? That's what this last step does. And because it's in this notebook, you can see the data at each step. You can do different transformations, right? And because it's marked, it's got markdown, right? Like you can even include, like, let's say I wanted to do a markdown and say, next cell is all about adding the data, right? And I'll do a hashtag because I think that is something that's there. But now I've got that, and I can provide detailed notes. I can do all sorts of stuff around it to provide guidance as to what's going on in the thought process throughout this entire thing. And now I've used all sorts of different engines to pull my data in, to cleanse it, to do different things, to normalize it, to make it more usable. And now, after I've loaded this into a table, I can go back into my Lakehouse. And I can go to my orders. Oh, I can go to my orders, select it, files.
I did want to say, Chris, that was an excellent analogy on the data flow steps to the notebook steps.
Oh,
Yeah, that helped me hugely right there. That helped me because now I have something to anchor to that I'm comfortable with, that I understand, and now I can start to, analogize.
start to make sense for you?
Yeah, no, and I've always heard about notebooks and I've heard about Spark and Python and blah, 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 all that stuff, but just, I'm not going to lie, a lot of what you've been reading so far is a little bit of Greek to me, but,
Oh.
That's how I learned Power BI, was just
Yeah.
listening to experts like you guys and asking the dumbass questions and reading and reading and reading and reading until I could get comfortable with the concepts.
Yep. And all of this stuff is the same. That's why I said it makes sense for it all to be together, because what pro devs do and what citizens devs do are essentially the same. Get data, transform data, load data, view it. Right? Now, view for engineers might be for you to access and then do something else with it, but or to create a report, right? Like it's all the same processes. And there are just many different tools that help you along, and this is putting another tool in your tool belt to be able to do your loads and work with your data, okay? And it is fantastic that we have Power Query, but it's also fantastic that we now get all of these capabilities that we're going through right now, because when you start to get into these different libraries for how to cleanse data and to make it more usable, we're going to change the world with this. All right. So we hang on before, let's keep going here because we're almost done, and I need to take a break before the noon live stream, and that I got to cut over to relatively quickly. So let's keep going and finish this guy off because we're almost there. All right, so it's saying the last frame because it is right there. Okay, we want to first then. Okay, so we validated that it's there. Add a new cell to the following code to new data frame from the Parquet files in the transform orders folder. So we're gonna copy it, and I'm gonna go back into my. Wait, nope. Open notebook, existing notebook, notebook 1, open. All right, I'm gonna go back in, and I'm gonna paste this in. I'm gonna execute it, run the cell to verify the results that data has been loaded in Parquet files. Awesome, I'm gonna presume that was loaded in. I'm gonna save data files in a partition. Just remember, we want to partition the stuff so that it's easily accessible and runnable. All right, we're going to run that. And as soon as that's been saved, we can go back in and we can look and see that that these files have been updated there. Oh my, this is going to be a little bit. Okay, so that's done. If I go to my Lakehouse, transform orders. No. I think we have to refresh this guy. Oh, no, that's not it. Transform data. Orders. My partitioning didn't work. Odd. That ran successfully, right? Yeah, print. Year, month. I have a feeling this is a refresh thing. I mean, really, this type of thing takes so long to do anyplace else. It is. I feel almost bad for like, well, it's not working the way I'd want it to work, because it is going so good. All right, well, we are kind of at a point where we're gonna have to like, let's just finish up this exercise. Let's finish up the exercise on our own. Let's finish this module so we can get a clean exit point, and we can finish this off together. Okay, and then we'll take a break before we come back in just a second. All right. ABC again. Question 1. You want to use your Apache Spark to explore data interactivity in Microsoft Fabric. Which should you create? A Spark job definition, a data factory pipeline, or a notebook? A, B, or C?
C.
You're right. We are pressed for time. I'm going to keep going. You need to use Spark to analyze data in a CSV file. What's the simplest way to accomplish this goal? Is it A, load the file into a data frame, B, import the data into a table in data warehouse, or C, convert the data to a Parquet format?
A.
Hey, this is right. Well done. And 3, which method is used to split data across folders when saving a data frame? Is it A, split by, B, distribute by, or C, partition by?
C, partition by.
All right, let's see. Ha ha ha! Congratulations!
Yay!
Yay! All right, well done. We've unlocked and we've done Spark Notice. Congratulations, everybody. This is a big one. Really, way to go. Frankly, and Dax got all excited. He jumped up. He is sleeping off camera. For somehow my AI tracker is not, and it's like, it is turned around. So like my manual adjustments make it really hard for me to hone in on him. But there he is.
Hey, Chris, let me just say, because I know you're going to jump, but wow, great job. Thank you so much. Really, really, really awesome.
Well,
super. And you're doing another one, right? So what's the cadence for this?
So I'm not sure. I got to lay that out. I just happen to have a day off. I'm like, you know what? I booked this time to do this. Let's do it, right? Let's make it public and let's have a conversation. So so look for more. We'll post that out there. He doesn't like to be on camera. I guess he's camera. He literally, I switched. He moved. But at noon, I'm going to be doing a reaction to the whole platform. We're going to be talking about different features, functionalities. Please feel free to Kevin, Jessica, stay on team so you can chime in and provide feedback on that stuff there. Be happy to have you as well. I have a number of other people that are going to be hopping on at that point in time too, so that we can hopefully, well, in theory, they're going to hop on. We'll see how that goes, but we'll be doing live feedback on how everything's going. But I do need a little bit of a break, so thank you guys. Fabricator Friday, we'll see. I can't necessarily commit to this amount of time every Friday that I have a day job, like everyone does, right? So thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Come back in 15, 20 minutes, and we'll see you there, all right? Thanks so much. Peace.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye.
Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.